everyone. I don't know where Tina is. I sent her the link, although I sent her the link probably like 8 minutes ago. No, it's more like 12 minutes ago. But yeah, I just don't know where she is yet. So, hi, how is everyone? Okay. So I've been told that there's been some fuckery afoot in the live chat before the stream even started. So if I have to, I might switch this over to members only chat for a short while. So just giving everyone a heads up. So hey everyone. Hey, just saying. Hey Kathy Ann. Hey Manya. Hey Moonchild. Hey little mousy girl. Little Miss Betty Page. The Duke of Letters. What's up? Megan. Area 106. Direct rat. Right? Direct rat? I haven't seen you in a while. Hey Reagan. Hey Mrs. Cassandra. It's subscribers. Oh, subscribers only. I didn't even think about that. How do I put it on subscribers only? Ow. Fuck, that hurts. What in the pot? That's funny. Hey Brandon. So yeah, I'm gonna wait a few minutes because I want to know where the hell Tina is. Hey Sunny D. What's up? Hey Christ. Hey Lisa. Hey Willow. Hey John. Hey Unveiling the Masks. Little Miss Betty Page. Oh, I already said that. I already said your name. Hey Scientist Sam. All right, who else do we got here? Hey Sassy Nas. Hey Manya. Unicorn Sparkles. Wait. Why do I know that name? Why do I know that name? Who are you, Unicorn Sparkles? See, I can't think that, but I don't think you're not. Oh, hey, Stacy Bobbles. Oh shit! You just reminded me. I wanted to email someone earlier. I forgot. All right, so Tina, where are you? Sorry, I'm just trying to track down real quick. So yeah, basically we have a plan. We're going to read. It's a statement of sorts, I guess. Like it's from Steve, but the information in it, because I wanted to be sure that everything that I was going to be reading was accurate, was verified. So everything in it was verified by the person mediating negotiations. Chris was his name. So because I spoke to him on DM, so I just wanted to throw that out there. But pretty much like one side of the story has been told, and that's it's fine. Everyone has a right to tell their story, and that's all this is. We're just telling the rest of it. That's all. We're not coming at anyone. We're not hating on anyone. Even if we disagree with someone about something, that's all it is. It's just we disagree about that one thing. Like no one's trying to give anyone a hard time here, but just before I know Steve wants the full story out. I know Tina wants it out. I know everyone just wants the full story out. That's all. So Reverend Ruin. Well, yeah, I mean, I think he was neutral and objective. How do you not think that? I mean, I watched the mediator video and he was. I mean, this is ridiculous. Just because he's friendly with both parties, that means he's not objective. Here's the deal. I'm gonna say this now, get it out of my system. I know people don't like Steve, and that's fine. Whatever. Don't fucking like Steve. I don't care. But like it or not, like him or hate him, people like Katie Joy, Unirock, and crew, like this guy's been fucking put through a lot of shit over the past 2 years. He's been accused of sexual harassment. He's had a TRO taken out on him. He was pretty much blackmailed or stonewalled or whatever into an NDA. Okay. He's had this nonstop effort on social media to just come at him for everything under the book. People obsess about him. I mean, it's disgusting. I'll be honest. And I don't care. He may be an asshole at times, and he gets on my fucking nerves too. I get it. But I mean, on top of all that, he lost his best friend, his channel, his some connection or whatever to some social life on social media. That was just fucking taken away from him by the person who started it with him. I mean, he had to go to court to fight to get it back. So maybe just people could just fucking give him a break for a minute. You know, I mean, it's just, I don't know, just like this is how like tragedies happen. And it's fucking bullshit. Hey, Tina.
I'm sorry I'm late.
It's okay. What's up? Sorry, I was just ranting.
I didn't even hear anything you said because I literally didn't even know what time it was.
I was just ranting about how just fucking people are just constantly coming for Steve, and it just gets fucking annoying. Like, leave the guy alone for a minute. Jesus.
Dude, it's exhausting. I gotta say. I mean, they've come for me for 2 years. It's fucking exhausting. So,
all right.
Hi, everybody.
I think I have to put this on slow mode or something for now. I was told that there was some doxing or whatever going on in the live chat before the stream started. So if shit like that's going to continue, I might put it on the live chat on members only or subscribers only or something. I don't know. But I'm just saying I might have to do something.
Yeah, there was. I reported it and then it disappeared, so I couldn't remove it. Oh, so hopefully one of the other people got it.
All right, so I got it in slow mode now. Live chat. Anyone subscribers, members. Oh, I can change it right here. Oh, that's cool. I never did it before. So, did someone become a member? Okay. No, maybe not. I don't know. Okay. So if someone became a member, I thought I saw something. Thank you. Can you put show, please? But I don't know what you're asking, Manya.
Do what?
I said, can you put show? Oh, slow mode on. I can't read. I don't have my glasses on. Welcome to Lord Troll. Hey, Hollyana from Kalamazoo. All right, so let me pull up that statement. Just 1 second here. I just gotta pull it up. Sorry, it's just gonna be a second. So, but Tina, if you want to say hi to people in the chat while you're here.
Oh, I was just typing it in.
What? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's right. We're gonna read that too. Make sure you use this. Okay, I got it.
So I just want to say that I'm
sorry. He took.
Go ahead.
He removed permissions on the wrong one.
I sent it to you. I sent you the right one.
Thank you. When?
Earlier today.
Yeah, but does it link to his Google Drive account?
Yeah.
Yeah, he removed the permissions. I told him to remove the permissions on the other one, but all right. Let me get permissions back.
Somebody wants to know what the member perks are here.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of perks. Basically, it's member shout out. Like that's pretty much it. I just, between work and everything, I felt like I was falling short on keeping up with all the offers and everything for members perks, and I had 3 tiers. So what I did was I got rid of the top 2 tiers and just kept the lowest, tier, the $1.99, I think it is. And basically that's like member shout outs. That's what I do. But other than my never ending appreciation and undying love. All right.
I love getting trolled like, an hour or so before the stream even starts.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's so funny.
Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. I can't pull it up. Can you pull up the document thing there? The statement? Are you able to pull it up?
Oh, me?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I got it. Let me see. No, I got it now. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so we're going to start by reading this statement here. Like I said, a lot of the discussion is pretty much just, been from one side and everything. And it's not, we're not saying that anything that they said was necessarily wrong or whatever. Just, people are going to perceive things differently. Everything's subjective. So they're going to tell things from their point of view, and just, we think it's just important just to put all the information out there. So, if both for the followers, the people who view the channel and everything, and also just for the parties involved. So, so this starts off with fact sheet. And like I said, though this was written by Steve mostly, the mediator, the person who was mediating the negotiations, I spoke to him, and he verified shit in here. So it's not like I wanted it verified by a third party, because I know how people feel about Steve, and also he's a direct party in this situation. So I mean, I'd be suspect too. So whatever. So Rev Ruin claimed I stonewalled negotiations for a week. Fact. Chris sent his proposal on February 21st to me. I responded that day on February 21st and continued to discuss with Chris. Chris is the negotiator. I was told that Rev/Chesh outright rejected his proposal and was not willing to negotiate. They then sent Chris their proposal for $50,000 on February 24th, and Chris sent it to me on February 25th. I was told Chesh and Rev left negotiations the day after the proposal was sent, 24 hours later after sending it. They ended negotiations after Chris informed them that the $50K wasn't realistic and asked for a counter, and they ended mediation after he asked them for a more realistic counteroffer. Says Manya. Fact. Manya tweeted withdrawing support during mediation, which, had we known she already tweeted about things during mediation, we would have more confidence of good faith during negotiations. We then had a 48-hour agreement not to say anything, and she failed to disclose to us she had already said something, effectively tanking any good faith negotiations. However, I was still giving Chris my changes to his proposal that he drafted to Cheshire and myself, and Manya continued to tweet during the 48 hours, contrary to her agreement that she would not. Rather than allowing mediation to be productive by focusing on negotiations, multiple times Chris had to inform her that she was there to observe, and it was to negotiate terms, not for her to have her say. Fact. The mediation meeting started at 5 p.m. and ended almost 2 hours later, 1 hour and 50 minutes. Manya tweeted her tweet at 6:28 p.m. Pacific Standard Time while she was in the mediation, which to me was to sway public opinion and not engage in negotiations in good faith. 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, February 19th, she tweeted her tweet less than 90 minutes later, and the meeting lasted 2 hours.
Yeah, that was the only way. That was the only way I even found out about any of this.
Same
is
here,
because
yeah.
of Chesh's tweet. I knew nothing. And then I asked each of them about it, and they all said that they had an agreement not to speak for whatever long. So
8 p.m., immediate after the mediation meeting and during the 48-hour agreement not to say anything publicly. Claim. Steve wrote the draft proposal. Fact. Chris wrote the draft proposal. What?
You have a super chat from Manya.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not even looking at the chat. 48 hours to not discuss anything in the mediation. Not anything. That is a lie and can be confirmed by the recording Steve released today. Got a timestamp? I'm curious. I wonder though, I kind of think maybe it was an agreement though, because at some point in time, Cheshire or Reverend Ruin, one of the two of them, I believe, approached Chris about mentioning how they could be owed, or they may be seeking $15,000 as a result of Steve saying something publicly within the thus breaking the agreement in their opinion. So I mean, if that's true, then it seems they believe that there's an agreement, and enough to where they felt like they should consider going after $15,000 when it was broken. So,
well, and I just want to say that here's the thing. I like all three of them. I've been friends with all three of them, closer to Steve than anybody else, but I'm really sad this has happened.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, extremely sad it's happened. So, but Steve, I've asked Steve not to say anything and just let it be. Just let it go until whatever. I mean, I figured this would get the video would get leaked, you know.
Yeah.
Nothing nothing is private.
Yeah,
I
no,
found
that's
on
for
the
sure.
internet,
That's for
really.
sure.
So,
see. Confirm there's a request made for. Yep. Yeah, no, it was confirmed by Chris that Cheshire was seeking an additional $15,000 for what she believed was breaking the agreement. So, okay. Fact, Chris wrote the draft proposal, not me as Mania claimed, and sent it to both Cheshire and I concurrently to modify with our suggestions. The draft was predicated upon the conditions that Cheshire asked for in the mediation meeting, as she had expressed concern. Oh, shoot, my microphone's. Oh, sorry. It might have been annoying to hear. I'm sorry. She expressed concern that I could fire her anytime, and she wanted more security. I agreed that was a valid concern, as did Chris, and he added those in the clauses. Cheshire said she had to be an independent contractor for how I paid her and wanted her input to be valued. Chris took notes of what Cheshire wanted in our negotiation meeting and wrote the draft proposal from those notes. Cheshire claimed her $50K was just her value and to quote unquote make a point. Fact, Chris informed Cheshire of the highest amount that I was willing to go, and he wanted to know what she felt was a reasonable amount. Cheshire refused to give him a reasonable number, and I questioned the seriousness of her engagement in the mediation, as weeks prior she had given me the number due to her, which she claimed was $683.06, which I believe was marginally off, but not $50,000 off. Cheshire subsequently refused to negotiate further and stated she was leaving mediation. Fact, Cheshire and Rev Ruin told Chris that Cheshire was entitled to $15K for me supposedly violating a 48-hour gentleman's agreement not to say anything for 48 hours. Mania's tweet, however, changed that, as she did not disclose to us that she had already said something to the public, and she continued to tweet after even making an agreement not to say anything. I addressed what Mania wrote, and in fact, they told Cheshire they wanted $15K for supposedly breaking that agreement. My addressing her tweet was responsive to her not honoring the agreement. This demand for $15K was not to make a point, but an actual demand by them to Chris directly. I want to reiterate this was merely a gentleman's agreement. This was merely a gentleman's agreement. We all had to not speak publicly. There were no conditions of penalties should the agreement be violated, and no entitlement for any monetary compensation. The following day, Chris informed me that Rev and Chesh terminated negotiations after being informed they were not entitled to $15,000 for the breaking of the agreement to refrain from speaking on things publicly. When they ended their involvement in negotiations, Chesh still had not provided us with a new settlement figure like Chris had requested. Claim, Cheshire did not leave non sequitur by her own volition. Fact, during the mediation, Cheshire quit the show, and she directly asked me on February 19th during the negotiation meeting to be removed from the channel and asked me to remove her name from her channel. Asked me to remove her name from her channel. That's got to be a typo. Mania and Dapper Dino, I don't know, also witnessed Cheshire asking to be removed from the show. I agreed and said I would not use her art, and subsequently removed her art from the channel. Timestamps of Mania's tweets on February 19th showed they were, in fact, before the end of the 48-hour agreement not to say anything. Claim, Chris's draft proposal didn't include Teespring or Patreon. Fact, Chris's draft was inferred to be all net profits. Chris could have easily explicitly added them. Claim, Steve was not willing to negotiate. Fact, Chris's initial proposal was just that and was sent to Rev Ruin as worded as draft. I continued to give Chris my suggestions to change. I received the draft February 21st. I responded February 21st.
Hang on.
Okay.
So a couple people asked, Manya asked for sure, she wanted to know who verified how was this document verified? And then somebody else said the same thing.
What document?
I guess the document you're reading.
This is just a typed up document, and Steve wrote this up, and then I talked to Chris, and I just wanted to verify the information that in here, because I mean I didn't want to just come on here and just read Steve's take on the matter. I mean, come on, just he's a party in the issues here. I wanted a third party, someone else who was there and who could verify whether or not this should happen. And this dude was trusted to mediate negotiations, so why would he not be trusted to verify that this shit was either said or did happen?
Well, and now the video's out. I
right,
mean, I
exactly,
watched it today.
exactly.
So
yeah.
Anybody can watch the video,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and hell, we can pull it up and watch it, So, but yeah. So that's what I mean by verified. Like it's corroborated. Okay. Like I said, I didn't want to come on here and just read some statement that Steve wrote, because he's a party in these negotiations. He's a party in this. Why would anyone believe that? I wouldn't believe it either. I would side eye it. So that's that.
Read what Rev just said.
Steve and Chris verifying that it's garbage, it's full of lies and half truths, and he was brought. Okay, right.
You know what? He was extremely professional from what I've seen.
He does it for a living, and Cheshire obviously trusted him. I mean, where did he go wrong? Where did he steer her wrong? Tell me, where did he go wrong? Where did he show his untrustworthiness or whatever? Because
he was fair to both of them in that mediation meeting. To both of them.
Oh, I guess super chat.
And Steve's side, no, it's not facts are sacred. It's.
This isn't sides. This is just putting out the information. That's it. Okay, listen, both sides are fucking wrong here. Like they are like just negligently wrong, maybe even, okay, in my opinion. All right. So I don't understand. Reagan, Roy Jones Jr. was the greatest pound for pound fighter ever. And I'm high as fuck. Always wanted to say hi, Reagan. Reagan, that was Chris Conflict saying hi.
Just blame Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, please continue.
Okay, I will. Okay, so I'm not reading this image here. It's so small. I can't even pull it up, can I? Oops. Oh, fuck it. Okay. The next day, I was told by Chris that Rev and Cheshire terminated negotiations after being informed there was nothing enforceable about them wanting $15,000 for supposedly breaking a gentleman's agreement not to say anything for 48 hours. Chris had informed them that $50K was not going into negotiations in good faith, and they needed to provide me a more reasonable number. They refused, and they ended mediation. I wasn't sent the proposal until February 25th. I am unsure how Rev Ruin could accuse me of stonewalling as they terminated mediation on February 22nd. And I never even saw the proposal until Chris sent it to me on the 25th. Chris and I were then left to determine what Cheshire was due by her voluntarily leaving the show. Cheshire had said she was due $683.06 a few weeks prior, and I arrived fairly at $787 based upon one half of all revenue and the net profits from our first show to when she voluntarily left the show, and paid her out of my own pocket. I have not to date seen a single dime from NSS. She couldn't have done $50,000 worth of work for something worth effectively nothing. She was paid 50% of profits, as that was what I had promised, and is exactly what I fulfilled. I understand she has said she is owed $50,000 due to work she did for the channel. Seeing as how I was never informed of the expenses of her work, I must say that I'm relieved I did not, in fact, hand her 50% operating decisions for the channel. Had I done that, her fee of $50K could have been approved by her, and the channel would already have a debt of $50,000 when it has yet to turn a profit for myself. To date, I've not seen a single penny from Non Sequitur Show, but Kyle and Cheshire had both seen income from the show. I spent well over $5,000 and had not seen a dime in revenue, which further demonstrates Cheshire was unwilling to take upon any of the risk, but merely wanted reward. Even though there was over $5,000 in expenses, I still made sure she was fairly paid before that expense was compensated for, an expense she didn't pay half for and therefore had no risk to her. Claim Cheshire had equal say in decisions. Fact, at no time was Cheshire given equal say. I had promised Red's rhetoric I would not give anyone. This is stupid. Who cares what? I'm sorry, Steve. No one cares what you promised, Red's rhetoric. I would never give anyone ever again the ability to screw me over like that, and I was to retain full control of the show. At no time did I agree to give Chesh equal control over operations on a channel that I fought for 2 years to get back from my previous partner who tried to steal the channel from me. As a result of my fighting for my channel, I have been falsely accused of fraud, medical fraud, social security fraud, disability fraud, tax fraud, and sexual harassment, while my previous partner stole tens of thousands of dollars from me, kept the channel from me for 2 years, and forced me by lying to the court to have to fight a lengthy court battle to get back what I helped create from day one. I had to endure a coordinated, nonstop 2-year smear campaign against me on social media that is still ongoing, mind you, all because I chose to fight what was legally half mine. Though I never gave the impression or knowingly allowed for the delusion that I would agree to hand over half control and ownership of the thing I have fought for and endured much hardship as a result of my fight, I made the mistake of assuming my friend took notice of how difficult this had been for me, and I never imagined she would feel entitled to have control and ownership. I was happy to share the revenue of the channel with her, but just not willing to put myself in a position to have it stolen from me again. I was under the impression this was clearly understood, as Cheshire and Red's rhetoric had made this very clear in their discussions with me and to each other, that I was never to make that mistake again, and I didn't. I was willing to and did agree to a 50-50 share in the channels, including all revenue streams such as Teespring and Patreon profits. I had believed this to have been understood by Cheshire when she told Chris that she wanted to appear to be partners, quote unquote, on paper, but she was to be paid as an independent contractor. Chris then drafted the proposal using her words and her specific wording to represent this. Cheshire explicitly told Chris that she just wanted to be partners on paper, her words, and basically wanted to be paid as, why has this been there twice? I don't think he edited this. Same as I had with her for Caffeine Corner, but at a higher rate, 50% of all revenue, which is why he drafted it with that specific wording. It was always understood that we were partners for profit sharing, and Red's Frederick and her had discussed the promise I made that I would never give up control again. This is why Cheshire was only a manager on the channel, not an owner of the channel. We had a 50-50 split channel profits, nothing to do with her having control over the show. And she was perfectly fine with that until recently, as again, she told Red's she just wanted her input to be valued, but understood it was my channel. This was never even an issue until a few weeks ago when she started changing terms of our agreement. There is a primary owner, which whatever. Fact, in addition to what I stated above, I explicitly said from day one in accepting Cheshire as a co-host that I would keep operating and decision-making control for the channel because I have invested time and money over several years in the channel. Cheshire had made it clear to Red's rhetoric, and I don't know who that is, that I would always have final say and control of the show. Okay. I have spent over $5,000 out of my pocket to regain control of the channel. I submitted multiple court documents to regain control of the channel. I legally fought for 2 years to gain back control of the channel. Why then would I spend years to get back control of the channel I created just to potentially ever possibly be in the same situation again? No, he promised you he wouldn't give up control. This is why
I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say this, okay? If Steve, if I would have thought or known that Steve would give up control again, I would completely cut him off. I would think he was the biggest fucking idiot on YouTube to do that. right? That's my opinion, though. After everything that he's been through, that's my opinion. So in listening to Chesh talk about this in the mediation, she didn't want to be owner of the channel, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what she said it over and over and over again. So I honestly don't even know why there's a fucking issue.
I don't either. And
I
I don't
don't
know
get
why.
it.
I don't know why like a 49%, 51% like partnership wasn't approached or discussed. I mean, I feel like that would have pretty much secured their fears, you know, but I'm not a business expert, so I don't know what the hell do I know. But yeah.
Well, I think this is my opinion. I think since Bull passed, it's went to shit. Everything's went to shit. I think Bull was probably the buffer.
Mhm.
He probably spoke both of their languages, and he probably helped to mediate whatever issues came up, right? And they do not speak the same language. They're
Yeah, they don't.
like
Yeah.
fucking oil and gasoline, really, when it comes to language, speaking the same language, whatever analogy you want to use.
Yeah, you
So,
can tell they don't even they can't even like properly like assume or decipher what the other one's saying. Like they have no clue, it seems.
well, it seems like Chesh can decipher what Steve's saying if it's not about Chesh, right? Like she helped in the mediation meeting, helped to help
Yeah,
him
I caught
get his
that.
point
Yeah.
across, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think when it's more personal and it's him speaking to her or vice versa, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, my whole thing is you if you speak with the intent to listen
Mhm.
instead of respond, you're going to actually hear what the person says.
Yeah. And I agree with that, with the first thought going through my mind of Steve needs to learn to listen a little better.
So somebody
Just
said, and
saying.
I'll answer this. Somebody said, Tina, then why didn't you advise him to get the agreement in writing this time? Here's the thing. I didn't know they didn't have an agreement. I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about it. I haven't talked to either one of them about it. When I found this out was when Manya made her tweet. Like, I
Mhm.
didn't even know any of this was going on. So, that's not my place. Right? Like, why didn't they? And I asked Chesh, when, if did you have a contract? When did you ask for a contract? And she said January. And I tried to clarify, was it January 2 years ago, January last year, or January just a couple months ago? And I assumed, because she didn't answer me, that it was this past January. Like, that's crazy. I've been a business owner. I would never like do a job without having my ass covered, right? Like, either it's going to be like this or this is what you're going to owe me. Like, that's just good business. And it's bad business to assume that you're on the same page as another person whom you
Mhm.
don't even live in the same fucking country as, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I feel like there's mutual I feel like they're both wrong in some ways, right? They didn't communicate correctly. They didn't whatever. This is all a lack of or whatever with communication.
Moderate extremist makes a good point. It says, my opinion is all of this should have gone through lawyers the second the case ended with Kyle. He says also an LLC should have been made for taxes. I don't know anything about that, but yeah, my opinion is similar to like the second there was uh, contention, there should have been. I feel like there should have been actual lawyers brought into this.
I
I mean,
absolutely
yeah.
agree. Absolutely. But here's the thing. And as somebody that, like, I don't have day-to-day conversations with Manya and Chesh, right? Nothing against them.
Mm-hmm.
I do with Steve typically. But as somebody that has seen what everything was like before and what it's been like the last year since Bull has passed, the shit has fallen apart, like went off the rails, right? Like he was really the glue holding this whole thing together. And I don't think Steve has had some behavior that I have not agreed with, and I've talked to him about it privately. I don't think they realize like they're all grieving for their friend and they're taking their anger out on each other. And it's just for somebody who's not like, I was never in their little circle, like together with all three of them, but it's really hard to watch because this could all be resolved. I don't know. But I think that a lot of decisions have not been made properly, maybe. When you're grieving and you're not acknowledging that you're grieving, hurt people. That's all I can say. And that's not even making excuses. It's whatever. And I put all three of them in there because they all three love Bull. And all I can think about is how sad he would be about all this. It's truly a tragedy. And definitely not a way to honor him.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, no, it's not a way to honor him, I mean, and it's, I mean, I never knew the guy, like I never even talked to the guy, but I mean, I imagine that like the NSS was like a big part of his life, just like it's been a big part of everyone else's lives here in this, your guys' community. So I mean, he would probably just be pretty upset to see just how everything's just falling apart. I mean, yeah, for granted, Kyle, taking off of the channel shit, that was a big part of it, yeah, that was unavoidable. But I mean, everything else, so besides that has involved only the people involved with the channel, you know what I mean? So it's not like some like outside force came and just like started wreaking havoc or whatever. It's just, it's like, for whatever reason, people kind of let it happen, I think. And I get it. Like, I think everyone is hurt. I really do think that. And I think that's, again, just with the constant never ending online fucking harassment and trolling and stalking and everything that Steve has gone through. I'm sure Cheshire's dealt with her more than her fair share of it too. And everyone else involved.
Manya has as well.
Yeah, Manya, exactly. It's just, that doesn't help at all. And I imagine too that I mean, I tell myself, like, if I was in Cheshire's shoes, okay, and like if a lot of this shit that I had coming at me was, possibly be because just I'm friends with Steve, I'll be honest, if I was catching that much shit, I'd second guess things, yeah. But then, of course, you don't do that because it's friends and shit like that. But it's got to put stress on things. It's got to put stress on your everyday happiness, your overall happiness, and your relationship with everyone. It's got to put stress on it. If it gets to the point where you might just second guess, being friends with someone just to end the harassment, then it's going to add immense stress to your day-to-day lives, and I think that is really underestimated. It's not realized by a lot of people when they're talking about the people here involved.
Well, and Rev Ruin says, I'm using emotional manipulation, bringing up Bull. Okay. That's your opinion, but, Bull was a huge part of non-sec. So, and he was friends with all of the people that we are talking about right now.
Can I say I want to say something here. Wait, Golden Unicorn fan says Kyle wanted a written contract. Steve did. Cheshire went on. Okay, the difference between Steve and Kyle is they started the channel together. They've been involved. They built it to what it was. Okay, they put the time, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the money, whatever into it. Okay, so their partnership was completely different. And I don't recall Steve not wanting a contract or anything like that with Cheshire. I mean, that's not what I heard. So, I mean, but also too, Cheshire wasn't involved in building the channel with the two of them from day one. So their business relationship or agreements or whatever are probably going to be much different. So, I mean, they're not comparable. Just because you're in business with someone doesn't mean your business relationships are going to be the same across the board. They're all going to be different. I mean, I have questions and shit still about all the lot of things, but you know, it really, I don't feel like it's really any of my business, so I don't really worry myself much about it. I don't know why this was even a thing. Like, why did anyone have to share the channel with Steve? Why couldn't it just been his channel and like people just participated like everyone else does on channels or whatever, you know? I'm not sure like why this was pushed so hard, because I feel like it was pushed harder than it needed to be. But again, I'm speaking from a place of ignorance, so I don't know.
Well, it's the only thing that I've heard since I've been around. Steve and Chesh were going to, once the channel got back, they were going to do it together. That's all I've heard.
Well, it's funny. You heard Steve say they want to enter into any written agreement. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know the content, nothing. But the mediation call that we all listened to, well, I don't know if we all listened to it, but some of us listened to, he didn't really have any qualms whatsoever about going into any kind of written contract. So,
nope. I didn't hear anything
nope.
against it. I still can't figure out what the issue is. You know what I mean? Because Chesh says she doesn't want to be the owner of the channel because only one person can be that. But I mean, what she wants sounds like that's what Steve was willing to give her. I think it's only over one thing, but I can't totally figure out what it is, because it seems like he gave her what she wanted. You know, he was willing to give her definitely a contract. That was what they were working on. Now, the contract that got leaked, that was written by Chris, and it was a starting point. It wasn't to say, here, sign this. This is what it's going to be. It was to like use as a what would it be called? Like an example of, I guess, you know, I don't know.
Before that, on his show, somebody asked him if he formulated a contract with anyone. He said no. Again, I don't know what the context was. I don't know. And he, just because he said it once on a show doesn't, I mean, he went into mediation. He went into negotiations. He negotiated. He tried. He made efforts, you know, just like everyone else did. Everyone tried and made efforts. So, I mean, I believe that everyone involved was willing to have a contract. So just because he said it once elsewhere, you know, I don't know. And someone else.
I wish they would do I wish they would get together with a therapist and do some fucking therapy together, right? So, before like burning it to the ground and hating each other.
Someone else said something about the differences. Why was something like Kyle's verbal contract, like why was that upheld or whatever? That was, I think, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not an expert here, but I think that might have been upheld because there was history, there's documentation that they were both involved in the creation of the channel, and that Kyle lied to him and took the money and, you know, didn't share any of it with Steve, or didn't consider Steve, and they were both equal partners in that. So that's why I think that the court recognized that there was a verbal contract. So.
Yes, but Golden Unicorn fan says, EKC, the phrase independent contractor cannot be located on any of Steve's clips until February of this year. The phrase 50-50 from Steve's own mouth can be heard 10 times from a year ago. Yes, he said 50-50. He wanted to give her 50% of the money. that was made on non sequitur. There's a difference. That's the issue.
I've been hearing that for the longest time. I mean, I don't understand. Yeah. See, 50-50 doesn't mean 50-50 across the board unless it specifically says that it means 50-50 across the board. When a partnership doesn't even have to be 50-50. Usually one partner, if it's a partnership, one of the partners will hold a smaller percentage than the other one for whatever reason, for various reasons. But when you say 50-50, it could be 50-50% of the profits, 50-50% of the responsibilities, the day-to-day work activities, the day-to-day decisions. It could mean 50-50% ownership. A lot of times when there's like more of a 50-50 or 49-51, you'll see like one of the partners, they're the ones who are the active member involved with running the company, where another one's more like a silent partner who sits back and does shit. I mean, 50-50 means any number of things, but it has to be specified. It has to be detailed and explained. And, I mean, it's so vague. Apparently we're gonna get destroyed by chat. See, here's the thing. I don't even understand the whole why do people want to see someone? I don't care if it's Steve, I don't care if it's Cheshire, I don't care if it's fucking Unirock. Why do people want to see just everyone hate on him so much? It's crazy. Like they want to just see him suffer. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It really, truly is.
Here we go. In my opinion, EKC and Tina are just Steve apologists that are spitting his name. It's not I expected more, not sure why. Yeah, I'm not sure why you expected more than, I don't know, the fucking truth. I don't know. Anyway.
You know what? I spent all day and all night listening to the mod chat and listening to the video that was posted today. Like I did do, and I took notes about it. Like I did spend time, and I've asked questions to two of the people. I tried before, but I don't know, man.
Tina's getting angry. Careful, folks. She'll find your house. Then cut ya. Wow.
Yeah.
You're so gangster, Tina.
Yeah.
You just drive around fucking cutting people, stabbing people. Okay. Really? So you have listened to, found, you've heard every single word that's come out of Steve's mouth since before February 22nd to know that that's the first time it was mentioned. Just because he didn't say it in streams doesn't mean it wasn't discussed. I mean, hell, we didn't even know any of these issues were going on with negotiations until Manya made her tweet, because it was all happening behind the scenes. Chances are discussions were happening behind the scenes long before that. Now, the 50-50, the split in profits, that's been known. It's been known by like moderators on the channel. It's been known by people. I mean, I don't know what to say. Just because you didn't know about it, well, I don't know.
I didn't know about it either. I knew about the 50-50, like all I've heard this whole time, but I've never heard anybody say that he was going to give up his channel again to somebody else and risk having the same thing happen. Right?
No, right.
Like I've never heard that part. And I didn't know they were having issues.
Golden Unicorn fan said the phrase 50-50, meaning monetary income after
whatever
expenses,
back. I didn't know about any of this.
Can only be heard from February 2022 to date, not before. So that's why I was talking about.
Okay, Steve, well, let's just go by what Chesh says.
Steve misled Cheshire on purpose now? Really? Wow.
For what? What did he gain by it?
Nothing. Neither one of these neither one of the parties here, I believe, are at fault. No one did anything on purpose. I mean, why? It's just crazy. What I don't understand is, I mean, I imagine that a lot of the people coming up with this shit and talking this shit is, probably people, Unirock's camp or whatever. But why are so many other people just silent with it when this narrative is trying to be run? I don't get it.
somebody said, where is it? So when Kyle said Steve was 50-50, why did that mean ownership? Because they built the channel together.
Yes. They are the reason the channel was what the channel was. They were there. They started it together. It was their conception from day one. That's really, I mean, that has to be explained.
Did you read my message?
Oh no, I didn't. Sorry. I got distracted. Oh yeah, no, I already got back to Steve. He sent me the same thing, and I explained where that had happened and occurred and everything, because there's the notes and then our conversation and DM. So all right, so let me go back to this. Where did I leave off? Okay, this is why I alone assumed the financial risk of my doing so. At no time had Cheshire invested financially to share this risk, and in no time did I ever ask her to do so. If she was 50% across the board, she would have been obligated to me for half of all expenses, including the $5,000 I spent in legal fees. I was happy to share profits going forward, since profit would be earned from both of our time and efforts made on the channel going forward. But it was my investment that reclaimed the channel and making those profits possible, not hers. So I am unsure how someone with no financial investment feels entitled to have final say on something where someone else does have financial investment, especially after informing people that I always have final say in decision making in regards to the show and the channel. Going into the future, I intend to do the non sequitur show solo with guests until I just don't want to do it any longer. I always wanted the show to be fun, engaging, informative, entertaining, and a show that I enjoy doing. If people watch or don't watch, that is secondary to the show, just being something that myself and others participating are having fun doing. Fact is that for me, the show hasn't been fun for a very long time because of dishonest agents who believe they're entitled to more than they actually are, who deliberately take advantage of me and blatantly lie to me and to others. I refuse to ever again put myself in a position to be taken advantage of by those people who are merely trying to spin public opinion rather than tell the truth, who don't treat me like an actual friend, and who take advantage of my trust. The end.
I sent you another message.
Oh, okay. Okay, so what I mean by verify is that he verified that these things were said, or that it happened. Like, for example, he did in fact talk to so and so when it was stated in the letter. Okay, he did in fact. He's corroborating the fact that somebody, that they asked for the 50K. Okay, that's what I mean by verify. I thought I made that clear. So I don't know.
I'm curious how many people in the chat watch both of the videos, the mod chat and the other one.
Well, I mean, we could always play some of the mediation one. Do y'all want to watch the mediation one?
Why did we decide to do this stream?
Because these are members. We're kind of part of this community. Everyone involved here are our friends. We just want to get the truth out there. We just want to maybe just this finally be laid to rest. And we don't want to see people getting fucked over or lied about, or just people running narrative or whatever. I mean, that's why. So, I mean, personally, I would like to see some sort of amends, or not amends, but some sort of, like, I would like to see a reconciliation happen. But, if that does happen, I don't think it's going to be for some time. So.
It's so funny. The trolls just fuel it too.
It's fucking it's crazy how many people just want to fucking come at Steve. I don't understand it. Like, I get it. He can be annoying. He can be a pain in the ass. He can oftentimes not know when to shut the fuck up. I get it. I mean, but there's a lot of people in the world like that. But this this nonstop attack is just, it's like unlike anything I've ever seen.
So you guys can go watch the video. You can watch the mediation, and what was posted in here in Steve's thing is in the mediation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And yes, this may be only one side, but that's because the only one side has been talking all along, and we're now putting out at the other side. So yeah. And sure, Steve can come on here and speak for himself, but I'm guessing that since Steve was one of the people speaking throughout all of these negotiations and everything leading up to them, that he didn't quite get his point across very clear, since here we are, or here they are rather. So that was my thinking. That's why I didn't ask Cheshire to come up here, or Manya, or anything, because they've all been involved in the discussions. And again, here they all are. So you know what I mean? That's why. Okay. All right, so there. Oh, it's right. There's something else too I was supposed to read. All right. Oh, it's oh, this was already read. This was already part of what I just read. All right. So I'm not going to read that again. In fact, I just read that. It was the end part. So I don't know. Do we want to play some of the mediation thing or what?
If you want to.
See, people saying Steve took advantage of Cheshire. How so? I mean, the channel's been in limbo for 2 years, so no one was even doing anything on the channel for 2 years. So I'm not quite sure how someone was taken advantage of. Again, Cheshire did not put any money into the channel, so there's that. No one was taken advantage of, like, because no one made out, no one had advantage. There's no one right now at this moment. Nobody has the advantage. There is no advantage. So no one was taken advantage of. This really was a complete and total misunderstanding, or just failure to communicate. Neither side is at fault. Neither side has ill intents here. I mean, Cheshire didn't go into negotiations, with nefarious intent, and neither did Steve. So I'm unsure why people think that this all happened because someone was driving this with ill intent. I mean, I don't understand that. Why does there have to be a bad guy between two friends who were going to put on a channel together and have some fun, but then failed to do so? Why does it have to be because someone went into things as a bad actor? He's pathetic, wanting other people pay his 5K. Apparently not related to. Boy. His GoFundMe is for the lawsuit with Katie. He'd be kind of shady if he used that for the NSS channel, right?
Yep.
I mean, then people would be all over him, like calling him a fraudster or whatever else. I mean, be happy that that's not what he's doing, or not be happy, but just acknowledge that that's what he's not doing. See, no, Steve, I'm sure, I have no doubt that Steve falls out with some people. We all do. And even if he falls out with more people than your average person, that does not explain the intense hate and vitriol that I've witnessed for the past 2 years directed at him. You can fall out with someone and just leave it at that. You don't have to stalk them on the internet. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not asking for people like Steve. I'm not questioning why people don't like Steve. I get it. Whatever. Don't like him. But I mean, this is just this is fucking it's harassment. I mean, it's like a mob mentality almost with coming at him the way everyone has for 2 years. I mean, I honestly don't know how the fuck he's kept his wits about him. I would have been a wreck. I don't know what to say.
Can I put the link for the videos in the
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
comment?
Let me I keep getting distracted. Let me go pull up that video. Oh wait, no, it's in my history. Just that.
Grandma Lori says this happens in business all the time when language isn't concise. I absolutely agree.
Yep.
Friends that want to remain friends always have a contract. I absolutely agree.
Okay, so all right, I'm going to share screen.
This is a good one. What it boils down to is they were always having two different conversations and both failed by not setting expectations and rules in a contract. They both failed. End of story.
Yeah. I absolutely.
There was no guarantee Steve was going to get non-sec back, right? So there was no guarantee of anything.
All right.
Okay,
so for people wondering, this guy here on the top left, that's Chris, that's the mediator. Then there's Steve in the middle, and I don't know who this is all the way over here to right. I think just a witness. Then bottom left we have Cheshire, and then bottom right we have Manya.
So this is recording. Okay, so I'm here to help mediate the dispute between Steve and Victoria. Dapper, Dino, and Manya are here as well to witness this. I'm just going to point out that I do this professionally, and although I do this professionally, I am doing pro bono. I don't expect to receive any form of payment or damage from either party. It is taking place on a Sunday afternoon for me, so it's ideally if we... sorry, Dapper, sorry. Can we agree to try and resolve it in the interim, and as it progresses, because otherwise it's the end of the conversation, and there's no resolution. And I think we all agree we want a resolution. So can we table that for the moment, but come back to it? Yes.
I'm okay with that, but I do want to note that I do not think that's fair.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm happy to say that isn't resolved at this stage, and that we will come back to it.
Wait a second, I just want to answer this real quick. I never said it was any different than people hating on KJ or Roadhog. I never made that claim. However, nobody's trying to come at Katie or Roadhog, blaming them of sexual harassment, trying to get TROs put against them. I mean, critiquing a public figure is not the same thing as stalking and just harassing someone and just bullying them for fucking 2 years. Nobody's bullying Katie. Just let's be honest here. Nobody's fucking bullying Katie. People may not like her.
But for discussion. So, okay. Look, just for transparency, Steve's given me a bit of a background of what's happened. So I've heard from Steve. Chesh, I guess the question I'd ask you is, first, what ideally are you wanting to achieve today? And is there anything you want to bring up now?
Nothing in particular that I want to bring up now. The only thing I want to sort of achieve at this point is actually just a mutual understanding, not even necessarily a resolution. If it takes more than one of these, I think that's fine.
Okay, cool. All right. Steve, anything, I guess, what are you hoping to achieve, and anything you want to comment in regards to that?
I'm hoping to achieve a mutual resolution that is amicable to both of us, that is fair and is understandable by both parties involved.
Okay. So from my understanding, and please, Chesh, correct me if I'm wrong, from what Steve's said, and I guess from what I sort of can ascertain, it seems as though there's a disagreement as to, I guess, payments and ownership of the channel. And also, it seems as though there may have been a misunderstanding in what Steve believes the agreement is and what you believe the agreement is. Is that fair?
I would say that's a fair assessment. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. So as far as what's your understanding as far as the ownership of the channel, Jesh?
50-50 partnership.
Okay. Now, when you say 50-50 partnership, are you talking about a 50-50 as in you both own the channel, or as in a profit share?
Yes, as in it is our channel, as that has been what it was described to me for the past 2.5 years.
All right. And from what Steve, you've told me, you disagree with that.
That has never been the case. Everybody that has known that it has been my channel that I would have the final say. I'm under the impression that she has always known that. And when people ask who had the final say, she would say they would defer to Steve. She has referred to it as my channel on multiple occasions. She has said that I own the channel and that I have final say. This is news to me. When she was with Reg was completely clear that Steve owns the channel, has 100% control of the channel, but she's being brought in as a partner for the profit sharing. That has always been the last 2 years, for what I understand. This is news to me that it is now changed, and that's why I want the mediation. Because why would I give up a channel that I fought so hard to get any equity out of that?
So I guess what I'd ask both of you is, do you think it's fair to say that, assuming the best intentions for both of you, because I guess knowing you, I don't think either of you would openly deceive the other, can we agree that there's clearly a misunderstanding, whether that's around language, whether that's around expectations, that should have been communicated better? I think that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I would say, as of last night, no, I don't believe that is the case.
Okay. Did you want to elaborate on that?
Not for now.
Okay. So I guess to move forward, is there a resolution that we think we can both get to? Because from my understanding, Steve's not prepared to, or the position at the moment is Steve's not prepared to give up any part of the channel. Chesh believes she's entitled to it. Is there a middle ground we can reach on that?
That's why we're here to try.
I believe so.
Okay. Can I make a suggestion? And I think it's, and I've got a few notes that, and unless you tell me any different to what I've been told, and please correct if there's anything wrong, Chesh, I've sort of drafted a few things based on how I would normally see a situation like this handled. There is an issue you're both in different countries. So setting up a company is going to be
God damn it. Okay. So someone had asked, why does Steve keep bringing up Red? Or that's why he keeps talking about Red or whatever. And I was just saying, I don't really know. I think maybe Steve just keeps mentioning him or whatever, because like, I think maybe Red just kind of like bared witness to a lot of things. And this way, Steve just, it's something to pull on for, I don't know, to support his claims or whatever. That's the only thing I can think of, really. So I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he's been a part of.
Oh, CJ. Oh, why? Did you want the R report? Are you asking me for it? Is that why? And I don't know. Did I give it to them? Why don't you tell me whether or not I did? Because you don't really want the truth. You don't care about the truth. You just want to sit there and talk about the R report all the time, huh? Because you don't shut up about it on Twitter.
Yeah, thank you for the $2.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll save that and put it towards my next FOIA request. Okay. It's really disgusting how determined they are to use SA like that against me. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Difficult scenario, regardless.
Sorry.
So Red has always been part of NSS.
Oh, okay.
At least I know, since trying to get it back. I don't know about before because I wasn't around, but since Steve's been trying to get it back.
Okay. So then that's why he references him often. Is
Absolutely.
that it? I mean,
okay, absolutely.
Okay.
I would imagine because of international business law, generally it would be set up in the US, which opens a million tax complications, in particular for you, Chesh, which
That's using SA because I did not pull the SA report to pull the SA report. I did not care to discuss the SA report. I believe her SA report. I believe everything she reported back in 2007. The only thing I laid doubt to were the claims she was making 13 years later in 2020. That's why. But nobody wants to just acknowledge that. They just want to keep saying that I pulled the SA report because I didn't like her. That's exploiting the victimization of women against me because you just want to fucking try to gaslight me or whatever. That's what that is.
Probably would rather avoid. I say that as someone who's not an expert in either American or Canadian taxation, but just as a layman observation. So if we were to say that Steve retains ownership of the channel, but agree that you are an independent contractor, contracts to him, and Steve, you agree that Chesh is any part of the decision-making process while she's involved with the channel, and even though as the owner you technically have the final say, that any input she provides will always be considered, and where there's a dispute over, I guess where you guys are immovable on something, a third party can come in to help resolve it.
I agree with all except for the third party. That exactly what you said was my understanding of our agreement. And if there's a miscommunication, then that's what we're here to work out, because there was no meeting in the minds when we're talking about vastly different things.
Chesh, what are your thoughts?
We had multiple conversations back when Boole was alive about how to build non sequitur into a business. The discussion at that time was that 50-50 between me and Steve, and then a cut equally from each of us to go to Boole, with a situation where all three of us had equal say in what had happened with the channel. With Boole gone, that removed that third party factor, as well as there was no change in the discussion of things being 50-50 to be discussed between us. Also, I have a recording from last night.
Yes.
I just want to say this is why I brought Bull up. Nothing more. This is why. Because he would be so sad. You know what I mean? And he probably was the person, the mediator between the two. He just wanted non-sec to be what it used to be. You know?
Yeah, and
so that's why I brought Bull up. I wasn't trying to manipulate anything. He was brought up in the video, and he's
brought up several times. Yeah, he's brought up several times, and like it or not, like the parties involved, they are still grieving his loss. So why should that be ignored?
Just don't pay any attention to the fucking trolls about this.
I'm not. Oh, honestly, I'm not even looking at the chat right now. I'm on the other tab.
Of Steve agreeing that it was 50-50 and adding a caveat. I have no problems if Steve wants to make changes or adjustments to be negotiated and to be decided on what those may or may not be. I am absolutely okay with making changes as necessary and what's needed for the channel. However, when we discussed with Boole what we were going to structure the business as, what it came down to was Steve told me that I would be 50-50 partner on everything. However, when the business was built, he would bill me as an employee of some kind. That was part of the discussion. So it was a situation where I was told that with the functionality, I would be 50-50 partner for everything. However, on paper, I would become an employee.
Okay.
I was okay with that under the understanding that what was on paper was actually different than functionality, and that no longer seems to be the case, which I find problematic.
May I respond to that?
Yeah, I think we can resolve this pretty easy. But go
all right, so yeah, most of that is correct. I put it as a subcontractor because of, as you said, it'd be very difficult to formulate a business. She is a manager of the channel, wasn't an owner of the channel. I've always became full as far as final say. That has never been given to her. I've never said that if there's a dispute, I don't have final say. That was always part of the agreement. I was never going to give that up. I made that very clear to multiple people. I was never going to give up having the final say. Why would I do that? So I don't know where that ever came in. But as you said, because of the taxations and all that stuff, we need to figure out a way to pay her appropriately. And so that was the decision would be more of an independent contractor, which I would pay her 50% of all residual, all revenue, and then residuals for her time on the channel. We were trying to work out. This was later on. We were trying to work out if she stays for 6 months, she'll get residual 6 months from the show she did, which is something like that I'm willing to negotiate. But the whole thing was for profit sharing, for the 50%, 50-50 of the profit involved. As far as the ownership of the channel, I've always had 100% of the channel. I've always had final say in the channel. That has never been negotiated. That's never been discussed. And she has always told people, from my understanding, if there's a dispute, I have the final say, that I own the channel. So I don't know where that ever came up that was any different, because this has never been anything but exactly what she has said, as far as she would be paid as, it's not really an employee, it's a subcontractor, but rather than a partner, because I don't know how she does her taxes, but I know how I do my taxes, which is I get a 1099 miscellaneous. That has to be accounted for. And if I give her money from that, then I have to factor that in as far as the expenses and the total amount of the net from the gross, because the gross is what you have the income, but the net is after all the expenses plus my initial cost minus any taxation I have on that income coming into me. That's given into her. Has to be passed on somewhere down the line. So
just to interject quickly, I don't think you two realise how close you are to actually an agreement here. So here's from what Chesh, you said, an employee wouldn't be the best structure for you, because then Steve would have to charge taxes. You'd probably find you'd have to pay taxes in the US, and then
with the math I did, when I actually mathed out the amount of money Steve would actually owe me for the amount of work I've done, I would rather pay the taxes and take the money.
I don't know what that means.
I would rather be an employee with the charging that I did, looking at the amount of money that would be owed to me, and I would rather take the hit on taxes.
I don't know how much. I'm really confused on that.
Yeah. So when you say, you're talking about work previously done.
Yes, and severance, if we go that direction.
Okay. So if I can make a suggestion that I think is a win-win, I guess it's going back to what was being discussed before. I think the reality is, even under what you said, on paper, Steve would own the channel, because that's better for...
I have no dispute of trying to take because there's only one ownership on a YouTube channel. I had no intention of ever saying that you should give that to me, because that is the functionality of YouTube. That was never a concession of decision-making ability. On top of it, I think it's a little bit problematic if Steve is taking my respect for his decisions and my earnestness of his friendship as a business decision, when I said that I am willing to defer to him. That was a matter of respect, and a matter of respect that I was under the impression was mutual.
So do you think we could, because look, with it's always difficult with partnerships in any kind of business sense, because ultimately there has to be responsibilities for different sections, and I guess responsibilities for decision making. It's you can't always have two. And this isn't just
yes, so that would be what a third-party moderation would be for, which is what we had initially agreed on when Boole was still alive. When Boole was no longer with us, the third party moved to Reds. When Reds was no longer active, we had yet to decide on a third party. And when Boole had died, I had also suggested that we get somebody else to replace Boole as producer. All of these were rejected.
Red still has some veto power. Red still has input on the channel.
So if I can make
okay.
I'm just, if I may interject here, did you communicate that when Reds went offline, did you communicate that to Shesh, that Red still has the veto power?
Shesh always knew that he had that ability.
No,
I would be
when Shesh went offline that he has the veto power.
Yeah, I would be under the because there's now that there's an issue of conflict of interest.
Okay. All right. I'll put a suggestion out there. What if we divide different parts of responsibility? So say, for instance, I would imagine artwork is something that, and design of the channel is something that we could say is Cheshire's responsibility.
Before we go there, there's something else that I haven't quite resolved yet.
Yeah, sure.
I was told that this was going to be a 50-50 agreement. What Steve is now describing to me is not a 50-50 agreement. What was described yesterday was a 50-50 agreement, but I retain 100% control over what happens. This is a matter of not, if there's a dispute, I'm just going to do what I want. This was never what the agreement was about. The agreement was about on good faith, and this is not what has been being demonstrated. And this was not what I had agreed to. If we've got a 50-50 issue, there was always a third party that was able to be reliant. And now Steve is asking for 100%, which is a change to what was said as a 50-50, which is now being described as what is not actually a 50-50 deal.
That was never described that way. The 50-50 was for profit sharing. I always said I was going to be in control. I always said I would never give up control of the channel again, or any ownership of the channel, period. I've always maintained this to everybody involved, everybody.
There are two things here that are being confused with. One is the primary ownership of the YouTube channel. You are the owner, Steve. We get it. But 50-50 partnership, meaning in the decision-making and the financials.
We're talking about the channel, though, Maya. There's no
so.
interest in the channel.
Hold on, let me confirm it with Shesh. Are you talking about the decision-making and the financials?
Yes.
See, I know what she's talking about. Please don't tell me, Steve. Thank you.
This is going to be just to interject. I understand there's other people here as well. It's really difficult to run these mediations if there's multiple voices. I understand what you were saying, and that's all good there. But I guess it's pretty clear that you two won't agree on that point. So rather than look at the past, let's look at moving forward and find something we can agree on.
I actually have a contention with that. I'm fine with moving on for now. Like, I'm fine with that, but I just want something cleared. I've been working for 2.5 years under this assumption. And so if that is different, then there needs to be a decision that is made. Either I was an employee, I was a partner, and now I want to be an employee, or I was a partner the whole time. So one of these things needs to be decided. And depending on what that decision is, will change, kind of changes a lot of things moving forward. I'm okay to see what resolution can still be come to without making that decision. But that is something that I personally and objectively need that answered.
Sure, no worries. I've made a note of that. So,
thank you.
That's okay. These things are good fun. Okay, so ultimately, the ownership of the channel isn't in dispute. The agreement or what was discussed is in dispute. I don't think we're going to have a meeting of the minds there. Whether it's I think we call it a miscommunication, misunderstanding, because that way we can move forward with it. I do understand what you're saying about having done the work for a couple of years, Shesh, and I think that is an important point that we do have to bring up. So as far as if we're able to get something moving forward, can we agree that Steve would be the owner of the channel, Shesh would be an independent contractor to Steve and the channel, and now what we need to resolve is as far as decision-making and responsibilities within the channel. Now, I think the best scenario is to split that into responsibilities. So there's certain things that Steve is good at, or Steve can take responsibility for, and there's certain things I think maybe Chesh could take responsibility for. So as I was mentioning, so things like the graphics, the artwork, that would seem to be definitely your domain, Chesh. As far as maybe organising shows, organising guests, and format, I guess deciding what the shows are, that could be something that Steve is responsible for.
That's how it was originally. Yes.
I have a little bit of contention before moving on to the distribution of work, simply because there was arguably what Steve might call a meeting of the minds last night. Everyone in that meeting said that this was a 50-50 deal. Now, Steve is going to remain with the keys to the car that is the Non Sequitur Show channel. So it might be better moving forward to discuss this as a business, with the channel being one asset of the business, because you cannot have more than one ownership of a YouTube channel. When I say in one context that, yes, of course, Steve, the channel belongs to you, in regards to anything relating to his lawsuit with Kyle, of course. But when we're working on the channel and I call it our channel, I have just as many clips of myself saying that. So the context of that matters in what Steve is referencing.
And that was not part of the original agreement. I'd always said that I retained complete ownership of the channel. She'd be paid for her work. That's how she wanted it. That's why I set it up the way through PayPal. That's why I set up through the taxation, because we couldn't do it as a business, because as you pointed out, I'm in the United States, she's in Canada. So I said, I will just pay you as a contractor. And then you worry about your own taxes, but I have to pay it out of mine. She was quite fine with that. And I'm like, okay, I have control of the channel. I have control of the decision, but she's being paid for her work, which is fair compensation. That is what we discussed. That is the agreement that I want to be holding to. Changing it later on to make it sound like I was offering her more than what I actually offered is, to me, not conducive to a negotiation, because that is not the original thing. Why people think that, I have no idea. I don't know what they've been told. I know what I said, and I know what other people have said. I know what she has told people about this arrangement, which is exactly kind of what we're talking about now. I'm willing to negotiate in fairness to try to make sure that she's adequately compensated. That's the whole goal, for adequately compensation. But if she and I didn't, we talked about very different terminologies last night. That I think there was a
I just want to address this real quick. So when there says, Steve just keeps saying red to provoke Chesh, his role doesn't matter. He is being cruel and petty. No, I don't think anyone here is being cruel and petty. Like, well, maybe a little petty, but they kind of both are, maybe. But so I don't. These aren't this isn't the case of one of the friends decides to just turn evil and go after the other one or whatever. This was a miscommunication. This was a failure to communicate. This was a failure to come to an agreement and to understand one another. That's what it was. And I mean, not for nothing. I mean, he wanted to just whether you agree with it or not, the fact remains is that he wanted to keep majority control or ownership over the channel and the decisions. He was willing to split everything else. He was happy to split everything else, and he was offering it. He was offering his friend Cheshire a part in this channel. So I mean, just because they couldn't come to an agreement doesn't mean anyone was being cruel or petty. They just failure to come to an agreement.
communication there. I'm fine with that, but we have to go forward, because I am not willing to give up anything on the channel, period. That's not negotiable with me. I've always said that. That's not what I maintain. I don't know why people think otherwise, again, but that's my position. I want her to have fair compensation. Absolutely.
May I clarify something?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so the contention that I'm having and why this has sort of become an issue with this I get to make the decision problem is that when we were discussing financials, Steve was maintaining control of an asset of an amount of money, claiming that I had no say or no stake in that amount, which is not something I ever agreed to. As far as I was concerned, and as far as I understood, it was 50-50 of the channel. Of course, I was never going to ask for control of the channel, because there can only be one person. And knowing what Steve has gone through, I was willing to grant that concession. I'm not going to do that to him. I'm not a jerk. I'm not unreasonable. So to say that he's maintaining the channel as owner, yes, of course he is. But that does not mean 100% say to veto. And why would we have somebody such as Reds or Bull that could veto and have veto power and step in as a third party if you were just going to have 100% control anyway? On top of that, why would I agree to give up any control whatsoever and not be an employee or not have any control over the situation? What person in their right mind would say, hey, listen, I will do all of the work, whatever gets thrown at me. I'm only ever going to get paid any kind of what happens to be made by the show, but you get to make the decision on what I'm doing, what you're doing, what I'm wearing on the next show. The problem with this terminology is if you have 100% say on anything that happens, it means that you can fire me in an instant. This is not fair. And this is never what I had agreed to, nor had I understood. I was respectful to you, and I was very much respectful that, hey, listen, if you had something that you wanted to do and there was a disagreement, I was likely to defer to you because I still view this as a respectable thing, that if I had a disagreement, you would do the same towards me. Please do not mistake me being respectful towards you as a friend, and please do not misunderstand me being respectful in that I did not want to cause additional confusion during your lawsuits and during the PR work I was helping you do and doing for you, in that you were in fact the rightful owner of the channel comparatively to Kyle.
Okay.
I just want a quick response.
Yeah, I was going to really quickly say it's very clear that there's a genuine misunderstanding.
Correct.
between
Yeah,
the two.
absolutely. And I'm quite aware of that. And again, maybe I have the same feelings towards that. Don't mistake, my friendship to say that I would ever give up something that I worked so hard to get back, because it was never on the table. That is something that I've maintained from day one, that I was never going to give up. I was never going to give up any of that from day one. And I do believe she was fully aware of that. However, like I said, when I said for the final decision making, only one person can make a decision, a final decision. Only one has that ability, period, in any kind of thing. When I say that Reds or will have some veto power, it means they have input. But Reds knows, and if you ask Reds, that when it comes to the absolute final decision, that was going to be mine. Reds is well aware of that, even with his veto power. So bringing that up doesn't seem to make any sense to me, because I've always maintained, even with Reds, that I have the final say.
Steve, I have an audio recording of you saying that in a 50-50 agreement, no person has any power over the other one and it is equal, and you bring in third arbitration.
Yeah, in some cases like that, that wasn't what we decided on from the initial thing. When I was talking about that, I said, because you had brought it up, I said there are 50-50 partnerships where it is completely across.
Okay, so Hands Moist
I saw
Thunder
that too.
Nipples says Chesh and Reds dated and it ended badly. Steve knows that, and that is why people say his bringing Reds up is petty. He even pushes it in part 2. Here's the thing, okay? It should not affect Steve that Reds and Chesh dated. That should have nothing to do with Steve or non-sec. Reds has always been around with anything to do about non-sec. Go back and look.
It's
He's
effectively
spoken about
dating
it
someone
a
at
lot.
work. Yeah.
Right. So it sucks it didn't work out for him, but Steve shouldn't have to pick a side. Period. He shouldn't have to worry about bringing Reds up into this when Reds has always been brought into this, right? Like, that's not fair to Steve.
It's exactly. I mean, and isn't everyone adults here? I mean, I don't understand. Unless like one of them was like beating the shit out of each other or whatever, then we should all be able to handle being around people. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Reds has always been around since I've been around, and he will always be around even if I'm not around, right? He's Steve's best friend.
I'm glad you addressed that, because I wanted to, but
and you required to have a third party. That is never.
I just don't know all the answers like you do.
Well, I don't know all of them.
Well, no. Let Chris run it, please, because it sounds confusing.
If I may,
go ahead. If Chris allows it, it's just
please. So it looks like that Shesh is not willing. Whatever you thought was the agreement, Steve, Shesh is not happy with that. She's not going to agree to that. That's very evident.
Okay.
You having 100% say. She's not happy with that because there are concerns, and she has genuine concerns.
And I do as well.
Those are genuine concerns.
So are mine.
Okay, I get that too. So we have to work with this now. You having 100% control of the channel, Chesh will, and 100% control of the decision making. Chesh is not going to agree to that.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm getting to. Yeah.
This is where we move. This is what we work on.
Sorry, Belinda Paul said at the end, Steve specifically says he wants Reds involved because Reds will back him up. Reds has always been involved and always backed him up. So
he was talking, when he said that, he was talking about involved with a discussion with Chris. That's what he was talking about when he said that. He didn't mean like involved in everything because he'll back him up, and just in a discussion with Chris. And I know exactly what she's talking about.
If Chesh and him hadn't dated or whatever and hadn't had a falling out, Reds would still be there. I guarantee you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Shoot, I was going to comment on something too. I forgot. What were they just saying in there?
And we move forward with that's kind of settled. I think, Shesh, if I may, do you think that's fair? That's a fair assessment, Shesh?
I think that it's fair to say when there was.
Wait, I don't understand the claim of 100% decision making. Like, because I would think that even if it's not a 50-50, you know, split in the responsibilities and day-to-day decision-making and activities, that it would still be a percentage split. You know what I mean? Or like someone would have like a controlling interest, and the other person would still have some interest. So, I mean, why do they keep repeating 100%? Oh, okay. Why is, I don't understand. I'm not trying to break balls. I really just genuinely don't understand. So. Okay.
I don't know.
Wait. Yeah, but that could be true, Belinda. Oh wait, apparently I'm reading an old comment of hers. All right.
Was agreement of 50-50, and that agreement was not 50-50. According to him and according to me, we have different understandings of what the agreement was in the first place. The only way to rectify that, and as far as I'm concerned, is to have an understanding of picking one of three things, which I had already described, as well as decide the best way to move forward. Quite frankly, with the way this has been handled, I do not trust Steve as a partner at this point, with the number of clips that I have pulled with timestamps from the number of times I was referred to as a 50-50 partner, having the same deal and conditions as Kyle, not even including screenshots of conversations. I did math about with the amount of work that I have been doing at an average to low of the positions that Steve on recording said that I was doing, comes out to an exorbitant amount of money after this amount of time that has gone by. And at this point, I do not feel comfortable with him having 100% moving forward. He's already said that he's not willing to negotiate on that. He's not willing to work with me on that. That's okay. That's his prerogative. As I said, I never questioned whether or not he would have ownership of the channel itself, because there can only be one owner of the channel. So before we move forward, I think that if we are going to move forward in any kind of business arrangement, we need to decide what I need to be compensated up to this point. I think that's the only fair way to move forward on at least equal footing, because as of right now, this is not equal footing.
The agreement is that she gets compensated for the work she has done on the show, which is the revenue that we brought in for the show. That's all. That's going to be half of that, which is the revenue from the show. That's the only thing she's entitled to, and that's the only thing she will get.
So for the last 2 years, you don't think she has done any work?
We have both done, but she's done on her own channel, which is irrelevant. Work done on the channel is means literally
Chris,
live on this channel. That is not.
You know how? Okay, how many?
Manya, it's completely
okay. I'll be quiet. Sorry,
it's completely absurd. That's not how business is done.
Oh yeah,
Chris, may I please?
Okay, apparently this was misconstrued or whatever. So let me clarify. When I say verify the document, I mean that there was, when he backed up, he reiterated, he corroborated claims made in the document by Steve, the fact claims. It was a fact that this action happened. It was a fact that this was said. This is what I'm talking about by verify. I don't know what else it could possibly mean, though. I'm just saying. So yeah, when this was done, like through his own words, like I talked to him in DMs for a moment, and it just about the document. Okay, he came out and he said, we're step for step. Yes, this happened. Yes, this happened. Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying was verified. It was corroborated, I guess would be the better word.
So you kind of interviewed him. You kind of interviewed him in a sense to verify the story.
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah. I just, because I didn't want to read the document. I didn't want to tell the information and have it the sole source of information being Steve, because just, I don't know. I feel like that would have been not quite as well received. But having a witness to it, someone who says, yes, that happened. Yes, that happened. Yes, that happened.
Or no, that did not happen.
Right. Exactly.
Right. I mean, it could be yes or no.
Right.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying.
Please point out that I was working for those 2 years under a false pretense that I was going to be 50-50 in a different agreement than what Steve thought I had agreed to. Whether it was accurate or not.
I think it's fair to say that
we both obviously.
You were working under a false assumption.
Yes.
Ideally, we resolve this in a way that fixes all of that. Okay, so I'm going to move to something else, because I think there's an overall thing that could resolve this that I do want to suggest. My understanding is part of the. Okay, so actually, before we do that, if I can ask you, Chesh, do you have a compromise suggestion for decision making.
Steve pays me for the work I do under the agreement that I thought we were moving forward, and then we go forward with either he decides to take me on as a contractor with keeps his 100% veto power. I get a proper job description, and I stick to that proper job description at a fixed rate.
Okay.
To be increased as there are different jobs or things that are added responsibilities, of course.
Yeah. Is it something where we could set up where?
Okay, so I'm just looking at the chat here. The story was verified, but not the actual document you were showing. Okay, yeah. I mean, the document wasn't anything more than just something someone typed up. So I mean, I don't know how that could be verified to be anything. So I mean, that never even crossed my mind that it could be misconstrued that way, because it's a text document. You know what I mean? So yeah, and like that's okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Well, what would that have even been verified to mean to be the document?
I don't know. It's not like it's like I don't know.
Yeah, we say there's a 50-50 profit sharing arrangement. Now, I do know one thing that you did say, Chess, that was a concern. That was a little bit of a flag for me as well, which was technically Steve could fire you at any time. What if we were to put an agreement in place where there was fixed periods where that couldn't happen?
I would, depending on how that was worded, I might be okay with that. It would have to not exclusive, obviously, because as of almost 2 years, I've been working almost exclusively towards non-sec and towards this agreement that I thought falsely that I was under, as well as, which was only restrictive. I don't mean to say that Steve wasn't allowing me to go work other places, by the way. I want to make that very clear. He wasn't saying that I can't go work other places, but the expected amount of work I was doing was that I would be unable to work other places.
Okay.
Is that reasonable? Okay. The only other concern that I have is Steve retaining 50-50 as well as, sorry, not 50-50. Steve retaining 100% power over decisions over the show means that if I were to take an agreement that had anything to do with compensation for any even portion of the show, with his 100%, he would be able to make a change on that however he so desired. So we'd have to write in something about that to make that function.
Yeah.
Lastly, even operating under what Steve has said so far, assuming the most charitable thing that I can, if there was a misunderstanding about 50-50 arrangement for money, because what I understood that it was 50-50 of channel total, meaning total amount of money that would include all AdSense, all Teespring, all Patreon, et cetera, as a whole. So that would include ad revenue, and that we would have a 50-50 agreement on what happened with ad revenue money that would be considered residual from the time beforehand, because as far as I was concerned, this was a 50-50 split. I have a concern that under operating the way Steve has it set up, he is vetoing my say in where those profits go, even while I'm agreeing with him where I believe that the profits should go.
Chris, may I interject? Because if that was the case, then she would have to incur half of the expenses, which means that all the money going into it would be going in to pay off the $5,000, over $5,000 I spent on that channel, which she hasn't put in a dime for. So I don't understand anything that she's saying, because it's not anything that we discussed. When if she was a quote 50-50 on the channel itself, I paid $5,000 for the channel, which means I have invested in the channel. She has not put a dime in the channel. So how does that work out? Because all the money coming in for the channel should be putting off that debt if it was that kind of arrangement. That's debt. That's debt. Well,
Okay,
it's not debt because it's expensive.
So if we were to say, okay, so there's this amount, we'll call it $5,000 as a round number. So there's the dispute over that. This should actually be really simple to solve. Okay, so we've got this residual amount that's coming in from the time, I guess, prior to you formally being an active part of the channel, or when, like the stuff from before. So this amount is still going to come in every month. And there's also an expense of $5,000. What if we offset, rather than offsetting everything, which would happen in a partnership, which I guarantee, I assume you wouldn't want, Jesh. What if we say that residual amount goes 100% towards repaying the $5,000, anything above and beyond that?
Which is exactly the structure that I told her. That's exactly what I offered.
But once that is concluded, so that debt is paid technically, then everything at that point is a straight down the middle.
That's what I was.
Hey, Chris.
So, and Jesh, you're going to say, yeah.
I never disagreed with the money going there. That was never my contention.
Cool. I think we've got
there seems to have been there was contention there, but
yeah, there was no contention with that. There was no contention with that yesterday. There has never been any contention with that. What I had contention with was you saying that I did not have any right to have a say in where that money went, period. When I was already agreeing that that money should be going to pay off channel expenses, which, as you just stated, which I agree with, would include that $5,000. That has never been in contention.
I will tell you that there was completely not meeting the minds there, because it's not the conversation that she had with me.
I'm more than happy to share that if you would like, and you can come to your own conclusion.
Because obviously she was talking about the residuals, which means that it wasn't going to the expenses, because I had offered, when I had suggested, I said in December, the amount, I want to make sure that she's paid fairly. That's the whole point of this, right? Fair compensation. I'm not trying to screw anybody over. That's never been anything I would ever do. I said for that channel for December, it made $5 in revenue, which would be split. She said, no, it made $125, rounding up.
I did the math of the entirety.
which means that was from the previous month. And I said, well, no, that's going to be paid directly to me. That covers expenditures, and that's supposed to go back.
I'm curious about something, because I hear this being mentioned often, and now someone in chat, Billy says, she didn't put in money, but put in work. Doesn't her work count for something? Now, maybe I just don't know. So I'm genuinely asking here. I don't how much work though. I mean, Steve didn't have the channel for 2 years. The channel was just in limbo for 2 years. It was non-existent basically. What work was done. I don't, this is what I can't wrap my head around. Like,
see, I can't either. I can't either, because I don't know, and I wasn't a part of it.
Right.
I do know that from his perspective with the $5,000, right? When I started my business, I got a loan from my dad because I needed to buy supplies. Like, it costs money to make money. And the agreement I signed with my dad, you know, we had a contract that I would not spend any money on anything but business and paying my bills until he was paid back. Once he was paid back, then, you know, I started making a profit. But until he was paid back, I was not making a profit, right? Like, as far as my business went, I was in the red. But then I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. No, yeah, and you're right. I mean, like, I don't understand, like, what work was required on behalf of the channel for the 2 years that it lay dormant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's all.
And here's the thing. Would you, if you were a business person, okay, if people took their feelings for both of these people away from it, right? And just thought critically, if you had a business and you didn't make any money on the business, you didn't have access or control of the business and whatnot, how would you pay somebody for any work on that business? You wouldn't, right?
And
So
how could the work be done on the business if you don't have access to the business either, you know?
Right. I know that, you know, Chesh works with Steve. She worked with Steve on Caffeine Corner, I guess. And he split whatever with her. I don't think it was 50-50. It was a different percentage than that, but she was an independent contractor. At least that's what I'm pretty sure. I think it's the same thing. But with non-sec, it was going to go up to 50%.
My understanding
I
was
just wish
her work was planning content, hosts later graphics, promoting on her channel, maintaining the community. But that's not work on the channel though. I mean, you know, that's keeping your community together. I mean,
well, in non-sec, if you look at how many subscribers non-sec has, and you look how many subscribers Chesh has, it doesn't, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and it's no disrespect or anything. I don't have I get shit for subscribers too compared to NSS, you know. But yeah, I mean, if you're promoting things on a smaller channel, trying to keep a community together, that doesn't make sense. I mean, this is just one thing I just can't figure out. Like, I don't understand. Like, I seen the tweets or whatever, right, and shortly after Mania put her tweet out there, like, I think it was Menace to Sobriety was tweeting something about Chesh's blood, sweat, and tears or whatever, something like that. And nothing against Chesh. I mean, maybe I could be wrong. This is why I'm asking. I thought the channel was not in Steve's possession. He was unable to do anything with it. He couldn't even access it. So I don't know what work was done.
Right.
You know?
They were banking on getting it back, but there was no guarantee.
Right.
I mean, I wish they would have made a contract of what their expectations were when they first met and started talking about, you know, going into business together if they got the channel back, whatever, but woulda, coulda, shoulda. So they both made mistakes, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
if I agreed to do something on a channel, I don't know what the agreement was or the expectations, but I would have it in writing. I would protect my ass. I wouldn't just do it and assume anything, because what if he didn't get the channel back? So you're out all your time, right? But there was no guarantee. So if he didn't get the channel back, would she be asking him to reimburse her for
Right.
her time and all that? If he, you know what I mean? Like if the judge would have the ruling would have went differently, what would have happened? Would she have demanded he paid her back for all that time she did whatever she did?
Yeah, I mean yeah, exactly. I mean,
back in the channels we agree upon. She's like, no, I still get half of that. This is exactly how I remember that going. If I misunderstood, that's fine. But this is what I'm remembering. And then I was like, well, there's still a amount of expenditure here that she did not put a dime into, which means I took all the liabilities, all the risk.
Okay.
Because
As
under the impression that she would be paid for her services, she would be paid as an independent contractor, as she used the word employee, but it's not, but as an independent contractor, and I remain full control of the channel and for decision making. That was the agreement, period. That was the agreement. If we didn't have a meeting of the minds of that, I don't know what else to say on that. But it seems to be the case that she was not willing to give me $2,500.
Hang on, Steve.
I have a question about the clarification of that $5,000. Are you not receiving that money back due to your lawsuit from Kyle?
I don't know if I'm ever going to receive a dime from that.
That's not my question. Is that part of the judgment that you are supposed to receive that $5,000 back from Kyle?
Yes.
Then why would you? Are you going to then take that $5,000 once you receive it to Kyle and put it back into the channel and or back to me if that's where we're deciding the money is going? Because it ought to be a 50-50 agreement as to where that money then goes, because that was the contention I was having.
Right now, it's an expenditure. If I get money,
that's not what I'm asking.
I'm telling you, if I was to get money from him, that paid
Chris,
off
please, that's not what I'm asking.
I would make an agreement to pay you half, to pay that amount back. I would be fine with that. But right now,
okay, so just I'm going to be very clear here. So what you're saying is that until such time as this
he's
residual
requesting
amount
to take
will offset the $5,000, but assuming that Steve gets that $5,000 back, that goes.
I would like to know, Reverend Ruin says EKC and Tina lying their asses off. What are we lying about?
What are we lying about?
Tell me what we're lying about.
We're playing the video and commentating on it right now. So what the fuck are we lying about? Wow. And wait, what did I miss there? All right.
Back in, and at which point, so say $1,000 of residuals has gone towards that. The 5,000 comes back in. What's that debt? That $1,000, bang, half to Chesh, correct?
That would be fair to me, yes.
Okay. Chesh,
why would that not be fair?
Yeah, I just want to point out there, because earlier in the chat, people were saying how Steve wouldn't compromise. Steve was, fighting it. He wouldn't negotiate, whatever. He just did right there. I mean, he was willing to concede things. And I'm not saying Cheshire wasn't. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this because the claim was made that Steve wasn't. That's all I'm doing. Okay. That's all I wanted to point out.
I have contention only with that. We are not able to communicate with each other at this point.
And I think she's right on that. I think we speak very different languages. I think we speak very different terminology. And it's unfortunate because we work very well together on other shows like Caffeine Corner. But there's too much contention that's not being able to be resolved.
I'm also not entire. I'm having a little bit of a contention with how this is handled, which may be a separate issue. It may not be. I'm not sure. So I'm going to kind of put it out there, and you guys, please correct me. But you unilaterally decided to take money to put it into the $5,000 without communicating that that's what you were doing, when, as far as I knew, this was money you were going to be receiving from Kyle. Therefore, this is a situation where you made a decision about money without communicating, while saying I didn't have a right to that money, while saying I had no say to that money, while saying we weren't even 50-50 on any decision made, even in the agreement that you've now at this point agreed was the case. And why are you expecting me to take a cut out of, if we decided that none of this money goes back into the channel and it goes exactly 50-50, why would it be reasonable for you to decide that I take a pay cut to pay for your expenses early unilaterally making that decision when you are already going to be compensated for this money in the first place. And at this point, how am I supposed to trust you that you were going to, one, inform me what was going on, two, we're actually going to put that money back into the channel in the first place after you received it from Kyle? Because at no point have I ever, once, ever asked you for any single dime over what Kyle owes you, but you're asking me to put in my percentage, which you agreed that I'm 50% on, to, I take a hit to pay for Kyle for you.
There have been no hit because, again, I had said from the very beginning that the ad revenue would be going to pay for.
Reverend Ruin says, you guys wanted me to respond real time to your question.
You did?
I never said that. Okay.
Yeah, but what are you talking
knew
about?
I could, but you knew I couldn't because slow mode. You also were told that I'd come on to confront this. Okay. I don't want anybody coming on with us, and I don't know what you're talking about. Period.
Again, we're not here to argue. We're just putting out information, okay? Because there's been one-sided information being put out there, it seems, and we're just adding to it. We're not here to debate this. This isn't about, oh, who was right, Steve or Chesh. They were both right and they were both fucking wrong. Why is this so hard to just fucking accept and move on? Why does this have to be some battle royale or whatever? This is it's a miscommunication. It's a, what the fuck?
It's a lack of communication. Here's the thing, Manya, I'm going to let you know, and you should always know, I don't take sides. I don't get involved. I never have. So I agree with some of what Steve said. I can agree with some of what Cheshire said. I can agree that there's a lack of communication, a breakdown of communication. They don't talk the same language, but it's not black and white.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gray area, right? We've had good things to say about everybody involved. We've had negative things to say about everybody involved.
Yeah. And see, here's the thing, like, obviously everyone knows that I'm friends with Steve. I like Cheshire too. I like Bonnie. I like all the parties involved. Okay. I enjoy talking with them. I enjoy just being a part of each other's lives. Okay. This isn't some take side, drag out battle or whatever. Okay. You can just put information out there. You can talk about it without somebody having to be a bad guy, without having someone be to blame for everything. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I don't even feel like I've been around in this community that long amongst y'all. Okay. So I feel like I'm still kind of like the newcomer here, where you guys have been around each other for years, but you guys are letting this pull everyone apart. I don't get it. Why is it happening?
It's crazy. It's almost like the community has been divided for so long, right? They jump on whatever bandwagon they choose to jump on at the time without getting the facts and evidence from everybody. And then it typically turns out they end up wrong, not saying they will in this case, but I'm saying the past history, right? With many different people, whatever. Like, I haven't said anything about this until today. I've been quiet other than privately trying to get information. And still, I think,
And Han says, why does this have to be a battle, quote unquote? Is this your first day on the internet? This isn't about people on the internet, though. I mean, this is about friendships. This is about people who've been a part of each other's daily lives for a long time now. You know, I get it. Yeah, everyone on the internet fights and everything. Yeah, no doubt. But this isn't just about like some people who cross each other's paths on Facebook or something, you know?
I'm still shocked, honestly. I'm going to say this. I'm still very shocked that it's gotten to this point.
Yeah.
Like this was like, I got hit by a train. Did not know this was coming. Did not see this coming. You know.
Yep.
expenses and channels, which she obviously agreed to. But unfortunately, I don't think
But-
I don't think we had a meeting in mind of what that was going back into. I never asked her for any of the 5,000. That
Chris,
was
I don't think Steve is understanding my question.
I am
Yeah,
understanding
if I
your
may.
question, but
No.
no, I have a right to
Okay.
respond to this.
Yes, please
Okay,
respond.
thank you. I had told her about the $5,000. Again, this was under the impression that she was being paid as an independent contractor. That's why I didn't ask her for half of it. If we had a full-on 50-50 partnership, as far as the channel that she says that for her mind's eye, why didn't I ask her for that 2,500? Why didn't I ask her for buy-in from that? Why didn't I ask her, hey, we have expenses, let's pay for this? I never did, because that was not the agreement we had.
Chris, can I
Okay.
please point out that I have very much invested into this channel?
That's irrelevant
you.
to what I just said.
All right.
Okay,
So,
if I may.
I don't
let's-
agree that that is
Yeah.
irrelevant.
What you're doing is, Steve, it's not a channel.
sorry, Mangi, this is not. You're
Oh.
here as a witness. I'm sorry. This is between Chesh and Steve, and we need to try
Okay.
and we can't have people interjecting on behalf.
I'm just trying to
Okay.
make it easier for Steve to understand, because I agree with Chesh.
Then
She's not
Manya,
understanding what she's
Manya,
saying.
I know,
respect,
but
I
you're not
understand.
Chesh's advocate.
I really do understand.
Actually, sorry, one bit of contention. I was told that I was allowed to bring Manya in as an advocate. So if that was a misunderstanding on somebody's part somewhere as a miscommunication, then that's
I
some kind of
also
miscommunication.
I just thought it was just going to be Dapper and Chris. Those are the only two teams I mentioned.
During the
That's fine,
call,
but
during the
I have to
call
put everything in there.
yesterday, it was asked if I could bring somebody with me, and you
I thought it was
agreed to
Dapper.
it, Steve.
Yes, and I thought it was Dapper.
Why?
That's fine.
All right, in that
Okay,
case,
whatever.
let's-
Doesn't matter.
okay, cool. Mangi is here as an advocate. I'm
That's
good with, I'm good with that. If you're good with that, if everyone's good with that,
I'm
the only thing I ask is just we try and we don't want too many cooks to spoil the broth. I guess just
I will just make one comment. It's quite evident that there's a breakdown in communication, and there's no resolving this.
I think she's right. on that.
Both the parties are talking past each other at this point, and if I may dare say, kind of one party is talking about the other. Let's just say that.
What part is what?
well,
One
let's-
party
let's
is talking
not-
about the other.
let's not.
You're talking past each other. Okay, let's take it this. Talking past each other. There's a major breakdown of communication here. Do you? And I'm kind of now doubting, as an outsider, whether this partnership will work.
I don't think it will.
If
at this
there's
point.
such a big breakdown of communication on these basic things.
Not for the non sequitur show channel.
Chris?
I don't think for this particular agreement I think things have been changed. I think the agreement has been changed.
So
And
let's-
I'm not. Yeah. So I think.
I think we all agree there's a breakdown. Sorry, Chesh, you want to say?
I just wanted to point out that I am doing my best, but I think this has been unfair. I think I've been treated unfairly, especially the past 3 months. And that I would like to go over a bit of a financial breakdown of the jobs that I was doing, since apparently that's not being viewed as relevant as to my investment in the channel. So
Well, and
if
that's
I could
fine,
do
but-
that would be.
but-
Steve, please. I thought we were letting Chris guide the conversation. So I would like to go over that because I think that there is a very large disparity or a lack of understanding on what the amount of work I was actually doing and have been doing actually is. Because if you understand the way this breaks down, I don't think anybody in their right mind would agree to not have any power but be a profit share. That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Well, it makes sense to me because that's what the original was. And I've done just as much
Steve,
work.
please, why are
And
you?
I'm responding. I've been doing just as much work. And here's
You
the
don't
point.
know what I'm saying.
But here's-
Please,
but here's-
Chris, please.
All right, but Chris,
All right,
I'm
hang
just
on
going
a
to
second. I'm going to step in because it's now getting to the point where it's going to turn into a screaming match. We don't want that. So what I'm going to suggest is we can go through that, and I think that's something important that you do want to go through, Chesh. But I think also when it comes to something like this, we would have to any agreement on any, I guess, negotiation on if the channel doesn't go forward on how that's resolved. I think would need to
yes.
be tabled for a different time. We can't resolve that now.
I think that's totally fair. And I think that there is, I will stand by that. I think that if Steve says 50-50 partner over and over and over again, and then he describes 50-50, but I have this, that's not 50-50. And I think that there is any feasible way someone can take a profit share when as compensation in a way that would be fair when they have zero power or control over what is causing the profit, because this could end up in a very, very bad situation where Steve can literally do nothing. And the only way I get paid is if I do everything.
Yeah, I think if we can work something out.
I'm not saying he would do that, by the way. I'm just saying these are hypotheticals of this could go very, very.
Can I just point out that what she described there is it's fucking having a job. Like I'm not trying to break balls or anything, but that's exactly what having a job is. It's you have zero decision making in the business itself, but yet you run the business. You know it. I don't know. That's what I hear when I hear that.
Well, I was self-employed, so I had every decision. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I also had every bad thing that happened, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
if COVID hit and the salon closed down and I didn't work, I could lose everything.
Right.
So, you know,
Badly,
They need-
very,
and
very
that's-
quickly.
and
that's very-
responsibilities and roles for both of you.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm just saying that I'm only willing, and this is non-negotiable, I'm only willing to pay fair compensation for the last 2 months that she has been actively participating on the non-sequitur show. She gets 50% of all revenue from that, minus, again, the expenses, which she already agreed upon. That's all she would be fairly compensated for. Any prior thing to
Okay.
that, she's done on her own channel. I've done on my own channel. We put an equal amount on all that. There's no.
I just want to point something out because people keep talking about this in the chat, right?
Okay.
They keep saying that. Let me see. Steve always needs to have someone back him. What is Manya doing for Chesh right now?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Is anybody there backing Steve?
Yeah.
What's the difference? Why is it bad for Steve, but it's not bad for Cheshire and Manya? Because Red's rhetoric is Steve's Manya. Basically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So why are people pointing this out? Why do they care? Manya has Chesh's back, but Steve didn't bring Reds here.
I think what people are using this or trying to point out because Chesh and Reds dated or whatever. But I mean, again, I argue that that's no different than dating someone at work. Just because it doesn't work out doesn't mean that person can't work there anymore. Or you're gonna have to just learn to work with each other still, I guess.
I get that Dapper's there. It's just not the same, though. It's not the same.
Right.
That's just my opinion, though.
Nothing past that. I spent $5,000 of my own money to get the channel. She didn't put in a dime of that. So, if she wants to call that an offset, which is not really the thing, that's fine, but it's not. So yeah, she can go through it, but I will not be paying her for anything other than the income for the last 2 months.
Can I get it? Chris, can I please, for 1 second? I would like to put it on the record that Steve claimed that he was going to be amicable to negotiation, but is in fact not in any way, shape, or form at this point.
I am amicable to negotiation, but in a negotiation, you have to have certain things that you're not willing to negotiate on, and I'm pointing them
Well,
out.
let's. I think before we make decisions on what will or won't be accepted.
I just wanted to point that out for the record.
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's important to hear Cheshire, just so even if you don't agree, Steve, at least you've got an because sometimes you can't always get an agreement, but to have an understanding helps, and potentially it can be moved in a different direction that works for both of you. But Chesh, let's run through that.
I also have one question that I just want to note down before I go through that real quick. I want to know why 50-50 with Kyle is different than 50-50 with me. As I was described, I don't want an answer right now. I just want that tabled. Thank you. So the description of what Steve has said on air of what I have been doing and was doing for 2.5 to coming on 3 years now has been PR management, personal assistant, and community manager for 2.5 years. I was doing this under the impression that I was going to get 50-50 of non sequitur totality, which includes that I would get a say in the things that go on. I'm not asking for an unreasonable say. I'm not asking to not be willing to have conversations back and forth about and hash things out. I have no problem with that. But it was under the impression that I had at least some kind of say, not he's got 100% of every say of what happens. Again, I will reiterate that I have no interest in arguing or saying that I ought to have ownership of the channel because there can only be one owner. So if there was a misunderstanding and a breakdown in where Steve was saying, I retain 100% ownership of the channel, and I said, yeah, of course, there's only one ownership of the channel. I mean, that's fine, but I don't think it's fair to not be willing to negotiate based on the work that I've put in. So the numbers, as they break down, taking the median wage for each of those jobs, the low median wage for each of those jobs, then taking the median of those jobs together comes up to, for 2 years, $120,000 Canadian.
Yeah,
now, please don't
don't
interrupt me. I mean, I don't appreciate that you're laughing because I worked really hard for years.
That's just not. Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
I think now might be a good time to stop.
All right. Do we want to table this and come back to it at a time?
No, I don't want to table it. I want a resolution because at this point it's gone into absurdity.
No, I think if I can,
she's not ready to do, and I can hear she's not in a good headspace.
All right, that's all right. All right, if everybody agrees.
Okay, so Annie brings up a few points, but here's the thing: I'm not dismissing the work she's done. I'm unaware of it. That's why I'm asking. I don't know what work she did over the past 2 years, and I'm just talking the past 2 years because that's the only time frame in which we're talking about. So I mean, she may have done more shit for Steve before that. I don't know. She might have done it the past month or two, whatever. But the way she breaks it down is that she's been working like this full-time job for like 2 years, and I don't see what was needed to be done on a channel that was dormant for 2 years. You know what I mean? That's what I'm asking. And you point, and you make a good point. talking about NSS as a company or brand of which the YouTube channel is just one asset. And despite my disagreement, she did work for NSS. Okay. So I get what you're saying that, it's not just a YouTube channel. It's a brand. There's other things that require attention, I'm guessing is what you're saying, to which I don't know. I'm unaware of any, like they have merch or whatever. Like, this is what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know what she did. What did she do? Yeah, like Maya Brink mentions, how is she claiming to do work for NSS for 2.5 years when NSS had no work done on it because it wasn't Steve's channel during that time? How can work on a channel be done when the channel wasn't running? This is what I don't get.
On that, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think it's best to handle this with less emotion. I can hear that.
I agree.
Look, I understand, Steve, what Cheshire's saying, and she's putting a quantifiable value on the work that she believes she's done. Now, I don't think that she's asking for that, but I think what she's saying is she wants you to understand that she believes that the work that she has put in does have a value, and she wants you to understand that and doesn't want that to be discounted.
There's always a value in work. However, when she has just said that, she didn't get a say. Of course, she got a say. I've asked her opinion on everything, on every decision. I have come to her and asked for her opinion. Her opinion has always been valuable. For her to say that she wouldn't have a say makes absolutely no sense to me. She's had a say in every step of the way. I've always asked her. I've always valued her opinion. So when she says she doesn't,
Anita, Steve isn't here talking because we banned him. We told him he's not allowed to come and you're not even participate in chat because we know he doesn't always know when to shut the fuck up. So
well, and really, we might be giving our opinion with this too, because everybody has opinions, right? It's been all over Twitter for days. There's tons of opinions, and we have a chance to make our opinion. We've done videos together many times. This isn't just because of Steve, but we figured that I personally figured if Steve was in the chat, nobody would have a chance to hear anything, right? It would be all about attacking Steve or whatever. And that's not what this is about. We're not here to attack anybody. So.
Wait, Amaras Moon says, I've answered that. Chesh went after Steve's detractors the whole time. She was acting as a paid agent doing that. Is that what you're saying? I assumed that as she fought with anyone or argued with anyone, she did it just because she was friends with Steve, or she did because she thought it was the right thing to do. I didn't know she was paid to do that. I mean, that would be the first I'm hearing of that.
I got nothing. I don't fight or argue with anybody for anybody. I stay out of it.
Okay. Manny says, I was there as a support person for Chesh, not to be a witness. Can you guys get that right for once? I didn't know I got her anything. I didn't say why you were there or why you weren't. I mean, I'm assuming that wasn't toward us. I don't know. Either way. Okay.
I'm going to say, I don't understand that. But my thing was that when it came to the absolute final decision making, that has to rest on one person. And that's what
I still have a recording of Steve saying the opposite of that.
But before we move forward here, Chesh, I'm just going to. Do you want to move forward now still, or do you want to just table it for maybe we can have a 5-minute break?
I would like to come to. I'm not okay, so I would like to come to.
That's right.
You know what? Yeah, let's take a quick break.
Yeah. All right. So what I'll do is we'll take a break. I'll just drop everyone out and I'll bring everyone back in. So it's saying it's at 55 minutes now. I'll bring everyone back in at the 1 hour mark. So I'll come on first and just say I'm bringing everyone back in. So I'll drop everyone out now and we'll do that.
Fair.
Chris, can we ask I've been trying to find out what she would like for quite some time. I've asked for numbers, what she thought I owe her, because I'm trying to pay her out, right? Even though I haven't been even paid myself on this yet, because
I
of
disagree with that.
assets. But I've asked for an actual number to see where she's at on this, and I have not gotten an actual number. So can we find out? Because I know what I want. I've put it on the table what I'm willing to negotiate, what I'm willing not to, and what I would like. I don't
Can
know
I
what she-
please hear what Steve is actually willing to negotiate on? Because I've only heard what he's not willing to negotiate on.
As far I'm willing to negotiate on, Chris had said, from the previous revenue, that goes in expenditures. After a certain time, I'm happy to split all that. And we could work out something where it's 50-50 completely across all revenue, for all AdSense, completely across the board at some point, and revisit it every 6 months and things of that nature. Those things are fine. I have no problem. I want you to be compensated fairly. I don't know why you think that I would never want to, and I don't think you.
I almost said cool. Chris, can I get a clarification from you?
Sure.
It sounds to me that Steve paid out $5,000 of monies that he is supposed to be repaid to on Kyle. He wants to borrow from the channel to get that money paid back to him sooner, so he can do with it as he wills until said time as he begins getting revenue back from Kyle. Is that accurate?
I would use different terminology. I wouldn't use the term borrows. My understanding
Sure.
is to call that an expense, but then in the event that the money comes in from Kyle,
It goes
that
to the channel, not to
that
him.
offsets.
Okay, and apparently, Manya, you didn't listen to me at the couple of times now. I addressed this. What I said was that the fact claims stated in the document, Chris backed it up, said, yes, that happened. Yes, that was said. Yes, that action was taken. That's what I explained. Maybe verified wasn't the correct word as far as that goes. Corroborated, maybe. So, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I this is like my third time now correcting this. Okay. So yeah.
I still don't get. Manya says again, according to Steve himself, community manager, PR person, personal assistant, etc. Steve's own words. Then why didn't they have a contract?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this could have all been avoided with a contract to begin with. I don't
Yeah.
understand.
I mean, and it's I mean, like, if I'm going, even if it's for a friend, if I'm going to do work, if I'm going to do like that much work that for what the value she puts on her work there, the monetary value, like I'm not going to keep doing that if I'm not getting paid while doing it. You know what I mean? Because I mean, that takes time, right? Then if I'm taking time to do that, then I'm not able to work an actual job somewhere where I make money, you know? So that's going to matter. I don't know. Annie, I can't see all the messages. Like everything goes so fast. So I don't know what I tried explaining and am frankly frustrated that a single message has been acknowledged. I've read a couple of them as I do see where this came from and agree with SM's haters who still think are exploiting this. I don't know what that means. I don't understand. Manya, that's a good question. Why didn't he draw a contract with Chesh? Why didn't the two of them insist on a contract? That's, you know,
2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. I have added them to my chat. Please see. Okay. I'll check my chat.
That's 5 years down the line, by the way. 5 years.
I'm not concerned about time. I'm just trying to understand. So that
Right.
means that he's going to take, let me just get this clear. And please, I'm asking Chris, Steve. I'm specifically asking Chris.
Sure.
There is
Oh,
$5,000 that Steve is counting as an expenditure. So he wants.
Sorry.
Menace to Sobriety, I never really spoke about non-sec because I wasn't around then. I didn't know Kyle. So I have no opinion on it.
And I mean, they started the channel together, and this wasn't a case of just like they stopped getting along. I mean, Kyle stole money from him and then took over the channel and didn't give it back. That's not at all the same situation. That's so, and not for nothing, they should have had a contract too, in my opinion.
Wants to use the money that we agreed upon to use towards that expenditure.
So the residuals from
Right.
prior, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Now, that money is still owed to him by Kyle. So does that mean that that money, as it comes in from Kyle, would go back into the channel, and or to 50% of that would go then to me?
So my understanding from the discussion we had, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, is that when that $5,000 comes in, that goes against the straight against that
I would be willing, if the $5,000 come in, I would be willing to give her half of that back to offset that, so it would be equal in that. Yes.
Okay, so no, you're not willing to put the 5,000 back into the channel, but
I'll just give it to you.
But so you're not willing to put that 5,000 back into the channel.
I don't know what that means.
Can you clarify what you mean?
So right now, the money that he's taking out is supposed to be going into channel expenses. I'm asking if he's willing to put that $5,000 back into channel expenses.
I still,
I think.
sorry.
If
you're following it, that's fine. But I'm
following
it's $2,500 and give it cash to her.
So what Steve is saying is,
Steve, be careful with those offers of cash. Remember what happened last time?
Fair enough.
Okay, so here's what would. Okay, so yes, what Steve is saying, that would back into the channel expenditure.
Right.
If there's a period of time, so say there's been 1,000, Steve gets the whole $5,000 in one hit, but 1,000 has been taken out of the channel expenditure, so that money would go back in.
That 1,000 would go.
1,000 that you would have, if had it have gone in day one, that you would have gotten that split on. Of that 1,000, half of that would go to you, because that's the money that is owed back to, I guess.
So we're back to agreeing that I have a 50% stake in that residual money, but we have agreed that that money is currently going into channel expenditures, whatever those expenditures may be.
That's kind of the way. But again, when this first they brought up, I was like, I didn't expect that you would want the previous. That was news to me, but it's fine. But yeah, I mean, I have no problem being equitable and fair on that. And like I said, if Kai was to have reimbursed me for that, then yeah, I'm happy to give that money back. I mean, why would I not? But right now is an expense.
Because I don't know, because you're not communicating with me in a way that I can understand.
And this is the problem. We do not have the same, I don't know if it's terminology or meeting the minds, and this is why hang on. This is why I feel at this time we need to work out a separation for this.
Steve, you have been cruel to me for weeks.
I have never been cruel to you.
I have it on audio. There are people that were in the moderator chat agreeing and coming to me. There were people coming to me after live streams saying, "Why is Steve being mean to you?"
I have the exact same thing.
Chris, this is. Oh, go ahead.
Steve, please. You might think you're not cruel to her, but it matters what she thinks.
I agree. I think she's been cruel to me, and other people have came to me saying that she's been. Manya, it works. Manya.
Okay. I'm going to make this easy. I'm just going to mute everyone. Okay. All right. I've just muted everyone. I don't want to do this, but it's turning into a yelling match. Okay. So maybe what I'm going to suggest here is we say that Chesh feels as though she's been treated in this way. It wasn't Steve's intent. And maybe if we sort of say that.
Okay. So Annie says, no, if she had a job, she'd have been compensated. You're right. In my opinion, you, Steve, Tina, etc., don't appear to be trying to understand, which even with my conflict with Chesh, I can see why she's upset. And I never said I couldn't see why she's upset. I think that they're both wrong. I mean, I get it. And I think they're both coming from a place of hurt. I never said otherwise. I'm asking questions about what work she did because I don't understand, because I'm unaware. I don't know. That's why I'm asking. And I'm curious as to what work could have been done since the channel wasn't even in Steve's possession. It was dormant for 2 years. So I don't understand. That's why I'm asking. I'm not saying anything. I'm just asking because I want to know. And I seen something in my chat where you wrote that her work wasn't valued. I don't doubt that maybe her work wasn't valued. I'm not arguing that. I don't understand what work was done. That's what I'm saying.
We're not privy to that information.
Right.
Right? Just like we weren't privy to this going on. Like, I didn't know until Manya posted the tweet about withdrawing her support from non-sec. Like, I wasn't privy to anything. So we're asking questions here, right? While playing the video. And if you have answers, put them in the comments.
Just saying, says, again, all this over an equal share of $125. It cost me more to fill my tank yesterday.
Well, it was over $1,000. It was over $1,000 because,
But I know exactly what you're saying. And yeah, I think that was kind of like the catalyst.
I still can't understand what they didn't come to an agreement on, because Chesh said repeatedly that she didn't expect to have control of the channel or to be the owner. I don't know what word she used, right? So I'm still confused at what they couldn't come to an agreement on.
Yeah. What caused them to be at each other's throats initially? I have no idea.
Wait, what did you say?
Someone asked the question, what caused them to be at each other's throats initially? And I said, I have no idea.
I think lack of communication.
Yeah, well. Again, this is why, and this is exactly why we made the decision to not have people up on panel, because we don't want this to be a fight or an argument. We don't think either side is wrong. Okay, so we're not taking sides. We're just putting the information out there, because all the information that's been put out there so far has been from one side, because they were trying to make their case. We're not trying to make a case here. We're just putting the information out there. So,
And we're doing it with you guys. You guys used to love doing this type of shit. Is it just because it's about Steve? Like that we're getting pushback, or is it because what? Do you think that? Do you guys think that people can't be impartial when it comes to certain things? Like, you've had issues, Erin, with other creators, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't gotten involved. Typically, only once do I remember that I've really gotten involved. And that was because of months and months and months of narrative being pushed. But I don't typically get involved and defend, right? Or you can be friends with somebody I don't care for, and I don't get angry at you, right? Like, I don't say shit. I might warn you about something from my own experience, but I give you the chance to have your own experience with it, right? It feels like people are very black and white. Like, because I'm friends with Steve and I am understanding a little more where he's coming from in certain aspects, I can't be friends with Chesh and understand where she's coming from in certain aspects. Like, if I'm friends with Steve, I have to hate Chesh, or if I don't agree with Steve, I have to hate him. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't jump on bandwagons. I don't have to defend people. People can defend themselves, period.
Exactly. And Omarosa, but this is exactly why you should research everything, especially Steve's history. Well, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and look into the complete history of every single person I'm friends with. That's just a little crazy. If that's kind of stalkerish. But I've looked into so many things that people had brought to my attention or told me about or whatever. And it's I'm not going to come to the same conclusions as you, dude. I don't know what to tell you. And I also I'm not going to sit here and I write friends off over things, over everything. Okay. Again, I judge people not by one action, but by the sum of their actions. So yeah, there's going to be some fucked up things, I'm sure, that are in Steve's past that he did that I don't agree with, but that doesn't mean that I write him off, or that doesn't mean that I would write you off or whatever. I mean, just like, when did it become like that? Either you're perfect or you're not worth it.
Steve, you at least be mindful of that and acknowledge that's how she feels. And Chesh, maybe if you acknowledge, okay, yes, how you feel is important, but that wasn't necessarily the intent. Maybe that's best, because otherwise it just won't move forward. So
I mean, we both have our own opinions on how we've been treated. I have been treated poorly. I've been treated, I believe personally, I've been gaslit, and I believe that things have been very cruel to me in certain aspects, but I'm not making an issue of that. That was not supposed to be part of the negotiation.
Well,
that's a subjective evaluation. Now, at
Chris,
this point, again, I don't feel comfortable we're able to work together on this particular endeavor. I would like to work at negotiation of how we extricate.
Chris, I'm having an issue with when I'm trying to get to a point, I'm being interrupted by Steve asking me not to interrupt him.
All right. So I'm going to give the floor to Chesh until I sort of say then. Yeah, let's
I'm saying that even during these negotiations, you are not hearing what I am saying for the majority of things. And there are things that I am not saying that you're taking that I have not said. So I would like to go back to the amounts that I was discussing. And I would like to go back to, since Steve is so desperate for a number, maybe this time he cannot laugh at me when I'm trying to.
Sorry, apparently this is a meaningful thing or something like that. So the full comment was, this is exactly why you should research it out. Everything, especially Steve's history. I mean, you do it to KJ, so why not, right? Well, I'm not friends with Katie, so I don't understand why. I don't get what you're saying. And I didn't research all of Katie's history either. So yeah.
Dude, their obsession with Steve
I know, it's crazy.
is yeah, but yet they can try to say that we're obsessed with Katie.
I know.
I've hardly said nothing about Katie in a
Yeah.
long time, and I have a lot to say. Lots.
I've actually like been doing some videos on other creators or other content or whatever, and it's now it just, I don't know. I get it though. I get it, I guess, because like if you do to one, then you must do to all, and that's not how it works. I mean, you treat people accordingly to your experience with them. You know, like I may trust Tina with something where I wouldn't trust I don't know, someone else with something, because of my experience with the two people. I'm going to react with each one differently. So yeah.
Why Annie, why are you disappointed in us? I don't understand.
I don't either. Yeah.
We've said they
I don't get. I don't understand. I mean, I'm not arguing with you on anything. So I mean,
pick a side, or you're gonna be bad. It's not how it works. It doesn't work that way.
that person was taking a shot at Tina, and it wasn't funny at all.
Yeah, somebody said I had BBD and I was a stalker. See, I don't pay attention to trolls. I could give a shit.
Oh, okay. EKC just realized at some point, apparently I got 15 minutes behind, so many apologies if any of my comments were addressed besides the single time EKC read and seemed to dismiss one. I've read a few comments, and I didn't dismiss any of them. If I didn't see everyone either. I mean, just there's a lot of comments going on.
I don't pay that much attention to the chat. I can barely read it, so.
I know, Tina.
Everybody knows that.
Oh yeah, Just Saying's got a good question. Are you going to put your story out there, Tina?
Yeah. I'm working on it. It's exhausting. It's really hard because I quit listening to Katie last January, and I've listened to very little of her since then, and it's really hard to listen to her. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Okay.
Demonstrate what I'm trying to talk about. Since whatever, doesn't matter. So the jobs that I was doing, according to Steve, which I have video and audio recording for, was PR management, personal assistant, community management. I'm going to now break this down in its entirety. A PR management job is a $73K to $114K job a year salary. Personal assistant is a $40K job a year salary. Community management.
Sorry. I didn't want to interrupt that part either, but will you accept to be on a panel with an expert on Steve McRae, like Menace to Sobriety, so he can explain to you what it is they see on Steve's behavior that makes him so criticized? What? I get it. You guys don't like Steve. You guys see shit in Steve you guys don't like. I get it. You guys are consumed by. Now, when I say you guys, Golden Unicorn Fam, I don't know if you're a part of it or not. I'm talking about the Menace to Sobriety guys. So, but I get it though. So I don't understand what me doing a panel is going to be. I mean, and not for nothing, Menace to Sobriety has shown me his some stuff. Anyways, the thing is though is when he's shown me the video clips he showed me, he would claim that they say something, but they say nothing of the sort. So I have a hard time following it because none of it makes sense. I honestly, I don't really care why it is they don't like Steve. I just think it's fucking crazy and obsessive how they go about not liking Steve. So, I mean,
management is a $64K a year salary. These are jobs, and they are not the high end of these jobs. This is low average. So I took the median. I didn't like add all these together. I took the median of those to say 60K. I was doing these jobs for 2 years. That reaches 120K for those 2 years. Now, when it comes to what I was doing on non sequitur, if Steve wants to treat me as a contractor with no stake in what actually happens with the company or with the channel, however you want to put it, because I don't think with all of these additional things, I think it's a misnomer to call it a channel.
Apologies, I was listening there.
Yeah,
My
no
dog
problem.
was locked in and started barking. I didn't want to interrupt that, so I had to let him out.
So
Okay.
with what I've been doing, this is how the amount that I've been working on since the channel started breaks down in a monetary way. 4 hours a day working on vMix for 3 months. That I broke down into a total of $1,200 for the just working part-time at about a minimum wage. The emotes are $50 a piece. That's the average going rate. That's actually kind of low for emotes. I've done $150 worth of emotes. The member icons are about a total, also $50 a piece, which is a total of $300. The main non-logo is at minimum a $100 piece of artwork. The thumbnails at about $20 a thumbnail, which is, again, a good going rate for 13 thumbnails, is 14 thumbnails is $280. The layouts, which is a $50 surcharge to make the initial layout, and then $10 for whatever change up of that layout was necessary. For 12 layouts, ended up being 13 or 14 layouts. I have to double check that number. Came to a total of about $200. And then the banner, which I only charged $34, which is again a very, very good rate. The merchandise, instead of charging for each piece of merch, because some things are obviously more expensive than others, some things are a little bit less expensive, I just took a flat $40 for merch for each piece for $160. That ends up being a total of $2,420 over the course of the 3 months. Now, for showtime and prep for appearing on the show, I would think that with the amount that I do during a live stream, which includes hosting, modding the chat, tracking questions, tracking super chats, as well as being involved in the show and running vMix and running the emotes and all of the stream deck stuff, I think it's reasonable to say that that's $50 per hour, which is plus 2 hours prep for the show that needs to happen that day. That is directly for the show, not including whatever the paper.
So here's my question. I don't doubt that this work was done, and I'm not doubting the value she's placing on it. I don't know, but I assume that it's somewhat accurate. But what I don't get is, if the channel wasn't functioning, if they weren't using the channel, if they didn't have access to the channel, why was all this work being done? This is my question. This is what I'm wondering. So
that I was apparently supposed to read. With the number of shows that we've done in the past, the number of shows that have been done total is a total of, with the 2 hours prep time, is a total of 43 hours. At $50 an hour is $2,150 for the months added up. Add those together, it equals, for the past 3 months, is $4,570 on the amount of work that I have put into the show minimum.
okay.
Well, if I wanted to keep going, I could say that the total for that for an amount would equal a, if you include the 120K, would equal a $1,240,570 for the past 2 years worth of work and 3 months, including the show. And if I was to take a severance package of some kind, that would be to at least complete the year, which added together would be 60K, because I still do the PR management job, I still do the personal assistant job, and I still do the community management job. This is neglecting some of the additional things that I do. If we were to finish that out for the year, it would be another 60K. Plus, if you add all those together, assuming I do no more additional artwork for the show and just move that into a total, it would be to say that I do the equivalent amount, because that would be what severance would be $18,280. Added together would be $78,280 for things related to just this year. So altogether, the total amount would be owed to me if we were to actually just math out the amount of work and money that would be paid to me if I was being paid for these jobs directly and not under a 50-50 agreement that I thought I was working under, whether that's accurate or not. This is what I thought I was working under. Is a total of $198,280. I have one last thing, and then I'll promise I'll be done. Minimum wage in California equates to $17.86 Canadian. This is all Canadian. 1786 Canadian, which means for the amount of work that I've done, if you were to just add up the amount of time at a minimum wage, it equals a total of $34,291.20 for 1 year. If you were to extend that to 2 years, it would be $68,582.40 for the work I was doing for the 2 years that I was under the impression that I was working a 50-50 agreement, and that's if it was just minimum wage. So that does not factor in the actual work I was doing, which is not minimum wage work. I am now complete. Please continue with the conversation.
All right, so did she just say like almost $200,000 there? Like, did I hear that correctly? Because like I'm wondering.
Yes, you did.
She said or 50-50. Okay, well, there's no way that 50-50 of that channel in any capacity in any way is worth anywhere near 230. I mean, you know what I mean? So
What did she just say minimum wage was?
she said, I forget. It came out to be like $60,000 a year, though. She said, had she worked the same amount of hours or something. Well, here,
minimum wage in California starts at $15 an hour.
Conversation.
Okay.
And it goes all the way
Not
up.
And that's if it was doing, if you were to accept 34, add up the 1786 Canadian. Minimum wage in California equates to 1786 Canadian. This is all Canadian.
$17.86 Canadian it equates to, she said, in California.
Okay, I don't know that, but it goes up to 16.
Okay, so
1764. 1764 is the highest wage in California for minimum wage.
So she first, the first few figures there are, she specifies that it has to do with the past 3 months. I know they've been streaming everything. Okay, fine. I get that. That totally makes sense. But then she figures it out for the past 2 years. So that's where I'm confused. Like, okay, so they've been streaming for the past few months. I get she's doing, streaming work or streaming related work. But why? Was she doing streaming related work though for the channel for the past 2 years? I don't understand why she was doing work for the channel, but they didn't have the channel to apply the work to it. You know what I mean? I don't know. And
well, I think she was banking on getting him getting the channel back, and then her being a partner with him.
Yeah, but there's no way that she had to have known that they weren't going to, the profits weren't going to equal with the profits or the income she figured out here. I mean, they just, I don't know. I don't understand this. I just don't. Not for nothing, a friend or no friend, if I was doing work and after like a week or two, I didn't get paid, I don't know. I wouldn't want to keep doing the work. You know what I mean? That's just me though. I get it. Maybe they've been really close and good friends. So I get continuing to work, I guess.
Well, and I thought she was doing the work for Caffeine Corner and she was getting paid for Caffeine Corner. I don't know what percentage though. I don't know. But I thought that was the work that she was talking about. I don't know though. But I don't know.
I don't know either.
1786 Canadian, which means for the amount of work that I've done, if you were to just add up the amount of time at a minimum wage, it equals a total of $34,291.20 for 1 year. If you were to extend that to 2 years, it would be $68,582.40 for the work I was doing for the 2 years that I was under the impression that I was working a 50-50 agreement, and that's if it was just minimum wage. So that does not factor in the actual work I was doing, which is not minimum wage work. I am now complete. Please continue with the conversation.
Okay, so let me address that.
I would really rather hear Chris's thoughts first, if that's okay.
I get to respond to that.
I'm not saying that you can't respond, but I would like to hear Chris's thoughts on my breakdown.
I need to wrap my head around that a little bit.
Okay, thank you. That's fine.
Okay, yeah. So I get to respond now?
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
I'll listen and then I'll
All
come
right,
back.
all right, so this seems to me exactly what Kyle was trying to do. Something that was just on a channel that makes about $500 a month.
That's why I could say the same.
I didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
For a channel that makes $500 a month, for her to say that she invested $200,000 worth of time seems absolutely absurd to me. The channel makes about $500 a month. At most, we were talking about making $1,000. We'd split half of that, for $500 each, and have that kind of income. How at a $500 income would anybody justify $200,000 worth of work? Is just not makes absolutely. Makes absolutely no sense. Makes absolutely no sense to me. So I think that is completely irrelevant. She was never on salary. She was anything like that was never negotiated. Anything was not talked about. Everything she did was under the contention that, or under the thing that she would get 50% of the revenue coming in. That's the deal. And so what I'd like to do at this point, again, how do we extricate from this? This is what I'd like to negotiate. I want to make sure she's fairly paid for the work she's done on the last 2 months, and I don't have a number for that still. So I don't know how much she thinks she's due. Again, once I get paid for that myself, obviously, because I haven't got a dime. I have not received a dime from AdSense from Non Sequitur Show yet. Not a dime.
I did give a number. I actually did give a number of the total amount of work that and an amount that would include just art assets, famous assets, and show assets. I'm just pointing that out. But please,
if I may speak, Chris, Steve, this is a very different situation. You had a 50-50 agreement with Kyle. Cheshire is an independent contractor. Whether the channel makes any money is irrelevant. You still pay her for it.
Incorrect. She gets paid. Manya, that's completely wrong. Manya,
if you was a partner,
Manya, that's
if
completely
you're a partner,
wrong.
then Chris can correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
he will, because it's completely wrong.
If Shesh was a partner, a 50% partner, then whether the channel makes an income and she gets the cut of the income, then it would matter. But because she's an independent contractor and her work comes under channel expenses, which is before the profits, she gets it. It does not depend whether the channel makes an income or not.
Technically, that's not correct. And I'll explain why. And this is purely from a business and legal aspect. If it's an independent contracting arrangement with a profit share split, then the income is dependent upon what the actual unless there's a set amount agreed to as an hourly.
Chris, I can't hear what you're saying because Steve keeps interrupting you.
What I think the best thing to do here moving forward, because I think we're kind of at a bit of a loggerhead. So I think we've actually made some progress, and I think there's either way. I'm sure we can get to an amicable resolution for everyone, whether that's moving forward together or not moving forward together. What I'm going to suggest is we do table it for 48 hours. In the meantime, I'd like to speak to you both individually without the other, and then we can either come together as a meeting of the minds, or we can just sort of, I can be the ham in the sandwich, for lack of a better term, to try and work out the resolution moving forward or not moving forward.
Yeah, I don't particularly have an issue with that. However, at this point, I would like to have at least a brief discussion of how to extricate from the situation, because I'm not comfortable any longer in this arrangement. It has gone to the point of absurdity for a channel that only makes a limited amount of money. I don't think it's conducive to a business arrangement to have this kind of partnership. As far as this kind of this amount of it's just absurd to me. So I would like to discuss what Chess would like in order to extricate from the arrangement.
I would also like a little bit of clarification on Steve saying that none of my point or my numbers matter, while also saying that he's demanding a number from me.
All right. So if I can, I'm going to come in as a realistic expectation. The reality is Steve isn't going to be able to pay.
I'm aware of that. That was never the point I was making.
And I think what you were trying to say was, hey, here's what I've done, and had I been paid as an employee, this is what I could have earned. And I feel you want to feel that work is valued. And
I'm trying to say that, like, I understand that there is absolutely zero reason with this misunderstanding and the way that it's been handled between the two of us, that there is absolutely, and I came into this with the expectation, especially with how Steve has still yet to explain to me what he's actually willing to negotiate on. I have not heard of a single thing that he's actually willing to compromise with me on or about or for in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, I understood that as soon as the meeting with the mods happened the way they did, that there isn't really much coming back from that. As a resolution, one of the reasons why I brought these numbers forward and to make this clear was to, one, as Steve was saying, that I was not invested into the channel whatsoever and did not invest into it for 2 years, and I just don't believe that's true. And two, that it does not make any sense to me why I would ever agree to something where I have zero power but have to still still get only profit sharing. That seems like an unreasonable and an unfair expectation. And considering what Steve said yesterday, where he said that I am not very business savvy, at that point, the only conclusion I can come to is that Steve took advantage of my naivete.
That's absolutely incorrect. See, this is when this to me is now becoming personal, that I would ever do such a thing. I want very fairness. I want to make sure that she's paid accurately. This is why I kept having her try to review the finances. I kept asking her many times, "Is this correct? I'm trying to pay you out. Please verify this." From the beginning, I want to make sure that she was, and I never got a specific number. This is where I think. Oh, let me
how is she supposed to know that you're treating her fairly? I don't get it.
Sorry, we'll let Steve finish. Sorry, that was my fault. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. We both feel they're being treated unfairly. So again, not a matter of under discussion. At this point, I want to do the fairest thing, and at this point, I think we need to just discuss how to extricate from the situation and how to resolve it. That's what I'd like to negotiate. I've already put on the table what was the original agreement that I thought we were under, that we were not obviously under, because obviously I think things were changed. I was negotiating to have the original agreement that she gets 50% of all the revenue coming in after taxation and expenditure, which was the original agreement. That's what I'm willing to negotiate. As far as the channel, not willing to negotiate. We have a loggerhead. We have an impasse. What would she like to do in order to extricate from this? This is what I want to discuss.
Right. Really quickly, Dapper's just put in the chat that just to give input, and I think Dapper's been pretty brilliant for the last hour and 20.
Yes.
It's easy when you just say literally nothing. I was asked by Chesh to give my take, and I think that's because Steve and Chesh both respect my objectivity and fairness in the matter. And my biggest thing is I don't really care what previous agreements were. If there is a new agreement that can be agreed to, I think it's fine to change previous agreements as long as parties are okay with it. But I will say that in Steve's lawsuit against Kyle, there was a additional term that he was suing for in case most of the things he actually thought were going on, like the actual breach of contract and fraudulent conversion and whatnot, were in there. And forgive me if I mispronounce it, but I believe it came down to quantum merit or anything. But anyway, yeah, there you go. But the point of it is basically that Steve had been laboring falsely for a belief that he had a stake in the non sequitur show that he did not, according to this particular case, which I think is the position that Chesh feels like she's in now. And in that, the idea was, I'm not saying, I think that in that, the idea was that there should be some kind of payment floor if there's not going to be that degree of stake. And I think that that is fair. Now, like Chris has said, I don't think there's any chance of a full-time salary being paid out for all of this work. But I do think that it is fair that there be an ask for kind of payment floor that until the profit share goes over, that would be reasonable for any kind of contract. Because I don't think Chesh would have signed any contract that said she's going to do work full-time for profit share without an ownership stake. And maybe I'm wrong. And that's all I have.
So I'm just going to give a quick legal explanation on quantum mirror. So that only applies where there's a contract in place, and the difference there is that there was an offer and acceptance, a clear offer and acceptance between Steve and Kyle, which it looks as though with the difference of opinion. So that's it's similar to what you're saying.
It's an analogy. I'm not saying it's exactly.
That's fair. Yeah, but that's a legal. And by the way, Dapper, the reason why quantum root was put in there is because if all the other things that we had put in there, the unfair and trade practices, the breach of fiduciary, all that stuff, because he stole the money, it was a breach of fiduciary duty. He literally stole the money. I'm willing to pay her money. There's never been an agreement. I mean, never been a disagreement. Let me finish. There's never been a disagreement with that. The quantum root is if he kept all the money and I get zero while I was on the show doing the show for 2 years, that would have been the catch-all. That's why the quantum root was in there. We haven't established. Okay, so I don't know why you brought up this. Really, as an analogy, maybe I could give you that, but that is a legal term that doesn't apply. You do agree?
I know it doesn't apply, and it was an example of the idea that if someone is laboring falsely under a belief in a business organization, that there needs to be some kind of compensation for work done under a false belief about that contract. And that's the only reason I brought it up, is because there's a similarity here where Chesh was believing that she was getting something that I don't think Steve intended to agree to.
I never did.
I'm not.
And I believe that.
Steve, can you please let him finish?
And so I think the only fair resolution to this is that if Chesh doesn't get what she thought she had in terms of stake in the company, that there be some kind of payment floor. And I'm not saying you both have to agree to it. I'm just saying that is the take that I am seeing with this, that there should be a payment floor for someone who's coming in without an ownership stake and who is laboring full time.
Okay, let me ask a question. Chris,
I also have a question.
Chris, would you be willing at a future date to talk to Reds on his input, because he had input on the channel, because he was well aware of the fact that I never offered anything about the channel to Cheshire? Would you be willing to talk to Reds about that? Because obviously he was involved with the channel. Would that be a court decision? And also, I'm only, again, sticking to the original agreement. I'm willing to give her 50% for the last 2 months of the revenue coming in, because it was based upon revenue.
3 things.
Revenue, not work done. So this, again, I think we're just wasting time. What would she like in order? I need an amount for how to extricate from this and what she would like going forward.
So, all right. So that was your question. So I'm going to come to those. Chesh, you've got the questions. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come around and kind of wrap it up.
I don't know when anything ever got changed off of in perpetuity. I also do not think that I was under the impression that when Reds extricated himself from the internet, that he extricated himself from any of this deal. And please let me finish. He now has a conflict of interest, and I don't think him being in would be fair. Third, I don't understand why it seems that we're treating Steve's interpretation of the agreement as more valid than mine. On top of that, I also like to mitigate that. There was a conversation that Steve had in the mod Discord last night where everyone was in agreement with my interpretation. So there is no point in any of our paperwork that is like he was sharing with the mods, like the this person is this person is this person is this. In everything that is on the channel visually, in everything that is on the channel descriptions, the about, the Twitter, everything related to Discord, we are being portrayed as being 50-50 equal. When it was asked multiple times, which I have in recording, is Chesh 50-50? Steve would say yes, but I have 100% veto power, and everyone, right? Yes, everyone agreed that that is not 50-50.
Okay, let me respond
really quickly, and then
I'm going to respond to everything. There are many different types of agreements that was pointed out the other night. I don't know why you think that Reds had no say on it. I'm still friends with Reds. I talk to Reds quite frequently.
Because this was not communicated with.
And as far again, you pointed out the conflict of interest there, and I'm keeping them separate. The mods said they don't want to know about the finances. They even made that very clear, even though they didn't know about the $5,000 initial investment. They didn't know.
Sorry, I forgot something. Please continue. I just wanted to know that I forgot something.
The mods were not informed of our conversations and the situation with Reds. Most of them have no idea, and I'm not going to bring it up. But the fact remains is that they weren't privy to that until I had to explain to them, because I don't know what they know or what they don't know. But I know the conversations that I've had with you and Reds, and they're not matching up. And this is beyond my comprehension to even think that.
All right. So this is just about over, anyways. I think we're gonna wrap this up. I think Tina needs to go do a few. So what I'm going to say here is, again, we're just putting information out there. And yeah, I'll be honest, I question how it is someone gets half of something without putting something in, you know what I mean? Without putting in an investment or whatever. I do have my questions. I do have things, but then again, if she really has been doing 2 years worth of work, okay. I'm curious what that entails. So right now, without a channel to put the work on. Again, I don't know. Regardless, though, I do not think that there was a deal for 50% of everything across the board. I think maybe one side thought that there was, and the other side didn't realize that the other side thought that there was. And yeah, that's a fuck up on both their parts, because when it comes to business, you need to be precise. You need to be exact and to the point. You have to be detailed. So, but I mean, this is just a complete and total lack of communication, and they're both adults. I think they both should have known better.
Well, and I wish they would just like do a therapy session, you know?
Yeah. And not for nothing, I'm still holding out hope that they reconcile, and this, you know, this is just like something to laugh at next year, you know?
Me
so,
too,
yeah.
honestly. I mean, all we've been waiting for 2 years is for them to have NSS and do their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's all anybody wanted. To get to this point and then have that not come to fruition is pretty sad. All because of hurt feelings and lack of communication. And it sounds like a marriage, huh? Like people that are getting ready to go through a separation or a divorce. I sent you a message.
Oh, my laziness. What am I being lazy about? I'm commentating on a video. I'm sorry. Was I supposed to like put like crazy work into watching a video? Anyway, Trailer says he's a con artist. He ripped everyone off. Who's everyone? Who did he rip off?
All these accusations with no anything to back them up.
Yeah, and not for nothing. And if he's a con artist who ripped everyone off, then everyone who was working with him on the channel, or who wants to work with him on the channel rather, then they must be cool with him being a con artist. I mean, just I don't get what you're saying, because I mean, you're just basically insulting anyone and everyone who has like an interest in this ordeal. Like, why? So I don't know.
I sent you a message.
The worst thing here for me are the friends of worst thing here for me are the friends of both dealing with the fallout of Steve and Chesh's poor business decisions after what happened with Kyle. Why were either so naive? Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Message. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm really curious though about how he ripped everyone off. Like, seriously, I'm just curious. I mean, because this is what I was talking about earlier in the beginning of the stream. Like, people aren't just like saying, "Oh, I don't like him. He's an asshole," or "I think he's a pervert," or "I think he's a creep," whatever. I mean, he's been accused of sexual harassment. People are accusing him of crimes, of ripping people off now, of being a grifter or whatever. I mean, like, dude, I get it, taking issue with behavior and wanting to bring light to it, but okay, so you brought light to it. Like, now you're just fucking becoming crazy.
You're acting like a troll. Acting like a troll. I honestly hope that whatever we talked about, whatever questions were brought up in the chat, you know, Chesh and Manya do a stream and address it, and you know what I mean, and maybe there might be some pondering of actions, and maybe we can eventually come to a resolution. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I agree. I
It's
completely
so
agree.
funny though. I'm not jumping on. I would die before I would jump and start engaging with the other side that has been targeting us for so many years. That would be where I draw the line in the sand. You know what I mean? The whole enemy of my enemy is my
Yeah,
friend.
exactly.
That bullshit. Like, I hope that doesn't even play into it. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, again, like, this, I think that that's an important thing though to consider, that there could be a resolution and everything, and so for people taking sides and just hurling a bunch of shit out at the other side, I mean, there could be a resolution. Just, do you really want to do that? I mean, wouldn't it just pay to just, I don't know, be not a
it makes me
dick?
sad because there's so many people that don't want a resolution. They just want to see Steve burn to the ground. They're not realizing that these people were friends. They loved each other like as friends. They
Mhm.
were almost like family.
Yep.
Anyway, okay. Well, it was good
Yep.
streaming with you.
You too. You too. It's been a while. Yay. All right, guys. I'm going to get going. I'm exhausted. It's 2 a.m. here. So, good night, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Oh, wait, I can't do that.